the vagueness that it had, I was okay with.
What do you mean?
The fact that you didn't know where Mori Jin came from.
Okay.
You didn't really know much about what's his name, Dwiley? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Dan Why something like that.
Yeah.
Dan.
Like his exactly the dedication he had to the karate practice and how efficient he was. They established characters were strong, plopped them in, had them all fight, bam.
I mean, and that's with any story, right? Well, now we're in the beginning phases before you get into character development.
Exactly.
So, yeah, clearly.
And it was like, and I was cool with how they did it because it wasn't anime-ish.
Yeah.
And it was like, it just...
Korean authors, I don't think they do things anime-ish.
No, they do not.
Japanese is really the word.
And it's like, it was like, it basically established 3 main characters, and it's like, plopped them in, bam, you knew from the get-go, these are the 3 we're going to follow. Yes. These are the 3 that we're going to see that matter. Right. No matter who they introduce later, before, whatever, these 3 matter.
Yeah.
So, doing that was absolutely fine.
Okay.
Cool with that in all aspects. And I honestly saw no flaw in that type of character development afterwards.
Okay. As
long as you didn't essentially ruin said characters who we're now watching later on.
Ruin who we're watching with the main characters?
Yeah, so like as long as like these 3 main characters that we're seeing, as long as nothing happens to them to where I'm no longer interested in what they're doing. When I know for a fact these are the 3 main characters. But basically you've done something that made me go, I don't care about them no more. You know, and it's like I now lost interest in this person. But this is a personal aspect for me with any type of character. Okay. And it's it's just like what I'm saying, like, it's while I was looking at it, that's basically my mindset the whole time I'm looking at it. Is that, hey, don't do nothing that makes me go, I don't care about this character no more.
And wouldn't it almost be impossible per person? Like, if I do something, even in carpet, and let's bring that up, right? So what if, for some strange reason, because you're kind of writing Ryan at a certain point, what if not necessarily Ryan has a character change, but something about him is different? People are like, I don't like it no more because Ryan's not hanging out, or even the fact that we may split off and kind of have the characters in different classes. They're like, well, I don't like it no more because the main 3 are not together. That's how it's introduced. But we know it's still good. Right, so again, that difference. With that, I can't even pronounce the word. Don't worry about it. Start with a D. It's like different. It's on the tip of my tongue, but
I'm about to say differentiate, but that's not.
Right, it's like that, right?
But that ain't the word. That's not
What's
the
going
word.
on? Damn demons. Jamin, where are you? But anywho, it's that D word that we're talking about. That's it's different, but it varies from person to person. Similar to what you're saying, but it still doesn't take away from the overall maybe end of it, right?
Right.
And maybe, and I could be jumping ahead here, but is it even also possible that at the end of this all, that you'll be like, okay, you know what? I care about the characters again. Like, could something like that happen? And then you would retract that statement.
See, no.
You may know like it can never, or based on how the story is going, it doesn't look like they're going to do it.
No, well, basically both. Sadly enough, it's both. But realistically, they've done stuff with the characters that essentially were just kind of. It wasn't just earth-shattering in terms of me caring about these characters, but they have taken away so much of actually following and just me being invested in what this character's.
Talking about Myra.
The girl?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I know.
Yeah. Her and the dude. Dwight. Yeah. Both of them.
Yeah. I know. Because it was a time skip, man.
Yeah. But it was like how they did it. It went from it being, which because like now I'm starting to get more into noticing the difference between Eastern writing and Western writing, and how we tackle long stories with longevity and things like that.
Okay.
More so with us, with Western, it's always single character. Like when you got the superhero type of stuff and powers and whatnot. Single character, they're the main focus, they're the main purpose. You might have a goofy little sidekick on the side or whatnot, but no matter what, hey, main character. I
guess because it's like you say, it's only the one, and it's easy to keep track of that one, and the ups and downs of that person. And people, I guess you can get more emotional with the one. Yeah. We have multiple characters with multiple personalities. It's at certain points, even I think in American right now, I've seen that there are more than one character. eventually one person gets singled out
Exactly.
as the main character, even though they weren't introduced as such, even though they were part of a group.
Yeah,
and then he's like, okay,
perfect example, The Boys.
Yeah.
The guy who hates them the most. It started off introducing the dude whose girlfriend got killed.
Right.
But the guy who hates the superheroes the most, whose wife had Homelander's kid,
right.
Like, he became the center focus behind everything that they're doing.
Right.
Everyone's kind of...
Yeah, it still kind of was around the guy a little bit, though.
It's like he was there, but it's like their driving actions were all forced. Like, all brought up by him.
I would say, reason why I don't entirely agree with the boys, I guess, simile is because the main guy was still... We would still go back to him. Like, so,
yeah.
you know, the... Butcher, and that's his name. Butcher was the main driving force, like you said. But then we'll go to the main guy. He's like, I don't really feel like doing this. Whatever. So it's he doesn't say anything.
He'll be doing something, but the story itself is progressing and it's following
based off of what Butcher is doing.
Yes.
Without a doubt. I'm just saying that we still get a conflictive kind of argument with the main character. So we still see his side of the point, or his side, or his viewpoint based off of what Butcher's saying.
Right.
However, he's still going to go along with Butcher. Butcher is still the front runner of what they're doing. So yeah,
and it's basically it's you see that a lot in American Western writing and things like that, like Harry Potter.
Okay,
Ron's the goofy sidekick. Right. His basically guy in the chair or the smart person is Hermione. Right. Main person is Harry.
Right.
I can't tell you what Harry did that I care about, but it's like I know for a fact he's the main character. This is the boy who lived. It's like okay. Right. It's like but. All right, for all intents and purposes, the one who you would expect to be that person would be Hermione because of her being the smart one to get them out of out of a lot of their problems and things like that, and just being
providing assistance.
Yeah,
she was the assistant, not assistant, but like the character, like you said, the smart character that was like, all right, we're in a pinch. I got an idea. Yeah, Harry, this is what you're gonna do.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. Right. And it was like if it wasn't for her, they would have been stuck a long time ago. Yep. And then the fact that she was also a half-blood, she was tortured because of it, and considering that the New World Order of these magicians that they had were that half-bloods and humans are lesser than pure-blooded magicians and whatnot. And it's like, for personal reasons while watching Harry Potter, I always go, I liked Hermione. I would have loved if Hermione was, like, if Harry and Hermione, like, fused into one person. It was like, that would have been a more...
I guess the social standing, and then be like, he has to battle that along with...
And it's just like, he actually was smart and clever enough on his own, despite being the boy who lived. And it was like, he on his own was the smart, intelligent young man who got himself through a lot of these problems and issues and things like that, but also was heavily invested in learning magic and absorbing the knowledge and history. Exactly.
Everyone else around him knew something.
They knew a whole bunch of stuff. Right. Every time they went to Hogwarts, they went there a different way. Right. In every single iteration, they always went there a brand new, different way. Right. And Harry was always... And it was necessary for him to be the odd one out, because essentially Harry was our window. Right. Everything that we were introduced into magic that was new, Harry was as well. Right. So when they established something...
And I'm about to say, again, to your point, right? Yep. That's what Western writing does. We still kept Harry as a main character, allowing us to see what he goes through what he goes through. Right. For the most part. Even though he has those supporting characters, they're supporting characters and not main characters along with him.
And that essentially is what the issue became. One of the issues that with me, with reading God of High School, is that essentially I was brought into this seeing these characters all as equally top main characters. Right. The fact that they had the part in when they had the during the tournament where the girl was actually the main front runner when they did the tournament, because it was like, this is a clone of Mori Jin, and then Diwali was it was like he was weaker because of his eye was gone. Yeah. So then it was like, you're the strongest now, you're the anchor. Right. And so when they had her shine at that moment, I was like, okay, this is being balanced right now. And it was like, this is very, very much balancing out how the show is hitting. And I was like, now, at that point in time, I was also starting to get annoyed with the show and how it was progressing and doing things and powers and whatnot. But I'll get into that later. Okay. But it's like, at that moment, I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool, because I can't even name a show realistically that had a moment where the main characters were men, they were incredibly strong and powerful, and then just out of nowhere, they were like, okay, this female, that was like, yo, you have to pick up the slack because now they're weaker than you. You're now the strongest one. And then she herself was actually going around showing the stuff and had a reason to carry the team. And it's like, it's all dependent on me. Where essentially she was cast into the main character role.
Right.
She had the motivation and everything. Like, if it's not for, like, if it ain't me, they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose and they're gonna die. And it's like, I gotta carry everything because I'm the only one who's at the way that they're supposed to be. The clone can't keep up. Wally he's weaker because of his eye. He's kind of confusing himself. And then they kept thrusting more and more responsibility on her. So then, like, one of the Japanese person told her it was like, yeah, he's gonna die. Yeah. Like, it was like, I can't tell you exactly when, but he's going to die. And she's like, well, I can't let that happen. And then it's still struggling with, when is Mori Jane coming back? It's like, are we even going to be able to pass this tournament? People keep showing up and they're stronger. And then she started having conflicting emotions about learning her swordsmanship and everything. She met that one master who was like, yeah, you're doing it wrong. And then it was like, I've been practicing this my whole life, and he's telling me that I'm doing it like this. Like, no, I can't doubt myself. And then she just kept awakening to more and more new powers and things like that. And it was like, she was literally put in the driver's seat.
Right, without
and it was like, and I was like, yo, as a series, I was like, I've never seen anything like this.
I would have to go, I don't have my book with me, but I feel like there might have been a few that had moments like that, but it might have been like, again, anime, and it might have been for one episode. The main character's gone, and the female next lead is kind of, alright, she's in the driver's seat. Yeah. Granted, right, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
But it's like, only thing that I come...
close, I said Naruto.
Was when Sakura had to, Sakura had to jump. But even that was not, it wasn't the same thing. It was like, these two are out, and then she was barely holding her own. She wasn't she wasn't cast in the driver's seat, but essentially she was just, it was like, this is just Sakura's moment to just show that she's not completely useless. And it was like, but you haven't been seeing her consistently throughout the entire series, keeping up with these characters, and then just when it gets to a critical moment where now these characters are being held back, she's still progressing further. In which case, they now have to catch up to her. Right. But more so, like, it was just in Naruto, all right, the two main characters that have been leading the charge all this time are, like, at a pause. And now Sakura has to just watch them. Right. And it was just literally I'm going to protect them, make ssure that they don't know that they're here. And it was just simply that. And then she didn't even fight off the Sound Ninjas when they came to attack. It was Choji and Sheena and all of them. Yeah, so it was like, even still, wasn't really anything. So that's why I was like, when that part came up, I was like, yeah, pretty cool. And I was like, for the most part, I was like,
because it was for a long period.
Yeah, it was for a long period.
She was like, honestly, if they give this a second season, that doesn't even show up in the second season. Had to be like third season if God of High School gets even that far.
Yeah, because it's after they leave the other world. And everything.
I know. Yeah, so I guess that's season 4 maybe. Because if they're only doing 10 episodes a season, you're not getting nothing done. So let's say season 3, late season 3, early season 4, that's going to be like half to almost all of it. Yeah, her, and that's a good spurt. That's a good spurt. So to your point, again, I feel like there might be something, but maybe nothing as long as that. Because she was the main character for a very
and then just not in the sense of being now the leader, but she was the one that, like, everything that comes with being a main character was thrust upon her. Right. That was
decisions
something
for the team.
Everything. You're right.
Yeah.
And like that was one of the main takeaways I had when I was reading that. And I was like, that's pretty cool what they're doing with her. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I am definitely far more invested in her character. You know, and it was like, I like what this is happening. And it was like, even if Mori Jin comes back, and I was like, even if Wally gets stronger, doesn't matter. I know she can hold her own with them. And she's getting stronger while this is all happening and everything like that. So it's like, it's cool. This character progression is fine. And when you just get to a point where you just completely disregard that, and it's, like, then nah.
So before we even get to that, the first part was cool with you. For season 1 was cool.
Season 1 was cool, and it's just, again, really the gripe that I had was just the powers and the martial art aspect.
Okay, so let's talk about that in season 1, because it seems like season 1 you had the least issues with, and then season 2 is when they were like, yo, you're crapping on everything. Yeah. So I picked that up immediately. So very understandable, but we'll talk about that. Yeah. But in season 1, let's talk about the powers.
In season 1, with me where it became the issue was the fact that God of High School had a nice blend between martial arts and the powers. Okay. Now, something that is becoming insanely consistent within Eastern writing I see this in Korean, Chinese, and Japanese stuff all the time. And it's ridiculous that it keeps happening, considering the fact that a lot of people are using it based off of Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
But Dragon Ball Z uses it as a feature literally to determine that you don't need to have this. And that is a power leveling system.
Okay.
Now, the thing is that Dragon Ball Z didn't start this first. It's actually a lot from like a lot of Chinese novels, not even their light novels, just older shit that they have, where basically
like a ranking system,
right? And like when they do cultivation and things like that, in order to become an immortal and stuff like that, and all of these old stories, it was always present to have a grading system in order for the character to understand their progress until they finally reach that pinnacle. So, when in doing so, a lot of their stories basically where everything revolves around this power system.
Okay.
So when they have a main character, the main character will basically deviate away from the power system by defying expectations.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So someone will sit there and go, he's only a level 5 or a 7th layer type person. He can't beat a 10th layer or a level 18 or whatever. And then the main character will beat him. And they'd be like, what is happening? And it would just throw everyone for a loop. And then it's like, well, now the main character has bumped up to a 9th layer or a level 17 person. And it's like, well, he can't beat a level 20 person. It's like, and then he'll beat it, and then it literally just repeats itself over and over and over again.
Gotcha.
So what God of High School did was that goddamn borrowed powering level thing in the beginning. Okay. And when they gave numbers to exactly how strong someone was in the borrowed power thing, what the issue that I had was the fact that immediately in the beginning of God of High School, they stipulate the borrowed powering numbering system doesn't matter. Because they had people, and then when Mori Jin first, when his level shot up while they were fighting, it was like, oh, so yeah. And it was like, yeah, the powers don't really matter. Because just because you have a strong borrowed power don't mean that you're a better fighter. But then it became a consistently used notion to gauge and judge everyone on their powers.
Was the
borrowed power system. Over and over and over again.
Okay.
They kept doing it. Even when they came back from the other world, they still used the borrowed power system.
And it's funny, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
They still had the little band.
But I figure for them it's more of them trying to find people.
Like, yeah, but it also
for the system. It's like, all right, like yeah, we can possibly use them later on, and it's like, what better way than to test? And it's like, yeah, we can gauge them.
But remember, they also used it as a health reading, and they would mostly use it. They were like, oh, this person's at 0, and then immediately it would shoot back up because again. This is also something that they do in God High School, where realistically, even by their own rule standards, and it's like, well, you reach 0 health, you're not able to fight anymore.
Right.
But then people get back up.
Right.
So then again, it's supposed to be defying expectations and whatnot, but the system that you're using is now pointless. Unless
I mean, because you think about it, right? So the borrowed powers themselves are God powers, right? So naturally, anybody with this type of power would go against this system that was created by man. So for them, and similar to what Ed was saying, introducing Ed here.
Yeah, right.
It was more like it was a humanistic way of them trying to figure out in what ballpark area that this person with this borrowed power now has. I don't think it was what's the word I'm looking for? It was a strict determining number for people who had the borrowed power, whether it was health, whether it was the strength level. And it was something else, and something else was based off. It was health, strength, and something else.
It was something else.
Then it was the God power.
Then it's health, strength, and then
God
power.
power level. Because like like with Mori Jin, it was like he had no God power. It's just his level was like 6.
And then it kept shooting up to 12.
13.
13 or 12. Yeah.
There's like the other dude was 11.
Then it was like the highest one was supposed to be 12, and then it was like Mori Jin's flash 13, and it was like what?
But like I said, I just don't think it was just their way of trying to determine things in their own, I guess, humanistic way against these godlike powers or these borrowed God powers.
The issue with me is that they didn't need it. Is that it stopped becoming a factor once they started introducing people who basically kept defying the very nature of that system, to which they would look at it and they would go, basically, we can't even calculate how strong this person is. Or we're looking at this and then it's like, whoa, this is shooting up. And all it is just being a telltale sign and letting us know this character hasn't knocked out yet. Or this character isn't down yet. Like their health reached 0, but then they're going to get some I believe it powers, wake up, and then they get back up. And then now we're continuing the fight again. Thereby making the whole health system not even a factor anymore. Because
I mean, and to your point, okay, I'm understanding a little bit more. And sure, it cannot be useful or even a factor anymore. However, I think that the thing was that that was only the case with, like, I don't know, not really subpar, but like B to A level individuals they would come across.
Yeah.
Again, I guess we're only looking at it in the sense of who they're facing off against during that tournament, or even when they're out of the world in that other, I guess, heavenly realm or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it didn't matter there, but again, it's the system of how it's just registering those individuals who are B and A, saying, okay, they're going to break whatever we have. The level just doesn't matter. Oh, it says 0. They're going to, I believe it, and they get back up, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, that happens, but I guess in their world, they still have these C and D individuals where they can still grade their powers.
Right.
So, again,
but we're not watching them.
We're not.
We're watching the A people who barely even use this system that is constantly being used.
And that's
on
another
them.
thing as well, right?
Yeah.
So most of the people didn't pay attention to that.
Most people didn't pay attention to it.
Only people that was, I don't
but
know.
Then they got rid of it.
The main, Madog, that's not him. What's his name?
Mujin
Mujin Park. I want to say Mujin. I just felt like it was right. But yeah, so it was their people really taking notice of that information on those bands.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think for them it was like, again, if they're going to look at it and you run into B and up, or B and A and S, if there is a S tier, if you want to call anybody S tier, then it was like, wow, okay, we know that they're in that level.
Yeah.
Right. But again, they were the only ones really paying attention to it. Every other main character pretty much wasn't paying attention to that.
They weren't paying attention to it, but it's the fact that it was brought up as something to look on and basically to gauge exactly where these characters' powers are fluctuating.
Okay.
So for the reader, it was a way to try to anchor you down into some normalcy, to have you go, okay, this person is as strong as this, or this person is as strong as that, and whatnot. But realistically, as the fight would go, because they're basically fairy tale Naruto crap, it didn't matter. And it would just constantly, it would be like, okay, we're sitting here using this to gauge these characters' powers, but in accordance with how you're actually doing stuff, it really is not even a factor for us to gauge these character powers. That's why I'll say, like, with Dragon Ball Z, they introduced Scouters. Scouters literally gave you a power level numbering thing. But the whole purpose of what they were doing in Dragon Ball Z is that before they even introduced Scouters, there was never a number towards power levels.
No, I could sense
there's a strong person right there. Man, he's stronger than me.
Right.
And that's all the information that you was given. There was no number system brought in. But when they added a number system, even like with when Raditz first showed up, it was to show you exactly how ridiculous it is to try and gauge someone's power like that. And it's like, it's a fight. You don't know what it like. It ain't over till it's over.
Right.
So and it's like him going like, my power level's 12. Like my power level's 1200. Like you're 8, you're 7. You can't beat me. And then it was like, what the fuck? What's the 14 doing over there inside a little pod? Like this makes no sense.
That was Jesus.
Yeah. It's like this makes no sense. And then you have like all of Frieza's people constantly undermining, and like their whole system is just using and understanding like, hey, power levels is what matter. We can only see the creme de la creme and whatnot. But it's like, yo, Frieza's whole organization that he had on Namek got shut down by a bunch of people who were able to suppress and raise up their power levels at will. So they could just like lower their power levels. They were weaker than a lot of the people that he had with him, but they were still able to defeat them.
Right.
And so it was something that was shown to be pointless. Like it was
pointless after a while.
It was pointless after a while. And it was like, because how?
But did they even keep that up after a certain point?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like with Dragon Ball Z, because of the fact that
I wasn't talking about Dragon Ball.
Well, in Dragon Ball Z, they did. It was a factor until Frieza mentioned the last notion of actually what the power level was when
how strong he was.
Was how strong he was when he first transformed. Like, he was like, my power level is at 1,000,000. And then Vegeta was like, you're lying. And he was like, that's ridiculous. And he was like, oh really? Yeah. And then, but like that was the last mentioning of a numeric number before anyone used it.
Was when Goku showed up, and it was like, yeah, his power is nothing. And it was like just stable until he moves, then it spikes up. And it was like he's barely even there, and it was like it's nothing. And then like Berta and Jace were trying to attack him, and none of their attacks even hit.
Right.
And then Captain Ginyu came, was like, he took a scouter off, and he was like, this guy knows how to hide his power level. Right. And he was like, this is not pointless. And he was like, there's no point in using the scouter right now. And it was like, because no matter what this tells you, it'll just throw you off, and it'll make you fight worse than you need to,
right?
Because you're underestimating this person,
right? Without a doubt.
Yeah,
And like they said, because they knew that they can control their power levels.
Yeah,
right.
And it was something that basically was pointed out as this is pointless.
Right.
Why are we using this?
Right. But see, God of High School never pointed out that the people were aware of their own power and that they could control wherever these numbers are saying.
Yeah.
It was a system brought up that was, like I said, yeah, it became useless without a doubt. But the system, I think for me, it was stable but flawed. Why was stable? Because it gave those other individuals, whether they're executives or any other people, to gauge in a sense what people were doing. Like when other people were watching the fight, they would kind of look, oh wow, the person's power level was pretty high. But for the fighters, that never meant anything because they didn't fully understand what their god powers were anyway.
Oh yeah, because it was like when it was introduced, even when it was like it was brand new to them. They was like they injected you with nanotechnology and they gave you power, and all of them was like. Oh,
yeah, but they still, but even the main characters would still consistently gauge people's power based off of that number system. When it got to the point when they were hiding underground and everything, and it was like, oh, this person is strong as a priest. Well, the priest that we fought was as strong as this person. Oh no, this person's a bishop. Oh, then that means they're as strong as this. And it's like we got to back away. And it was like when they were doing that, it was fine. That was fine.
Because we're comparing it to people that they
Yeah, and it's like that made absolute total sense. And it was like I fought someone like this and I couldn't beat him. You're on that person's level.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to fight you.
Gotcha.
There was no need for me to look at your health to see like, oh, it's in the thousands.
Or
like he's not. Yeah, and it's like he's.
12 or something.
It's like I don't need that in order to gauge how a fight is going to go. Okay. And then even still, when they had certain fights, it didn't matter anyway because motherfuckers would just get back up again. So and it was like it just made it ultimately pointless. And then with me, it was like after the whole Ragnarok battle. When they introduced going to the schools again with Moridan and with his sister and everything, then I was like, they're bringing back the rating system. I'm like, fuck! And I was like,
at the time, I definitely believe like that was like it was like that's for strictly the executives and them finer people, especially with
That's fine, but again, it's a system I didn't want to see. That's all I'm saying is that at that point in time, I was like, we're now dumbing it down. Well, this is the issue with even in the season 2, but it's just we're now dumbing down everything after we just had it all the way up here and just bad writing on that part. But just how they implemented that. Well, that was one incident with the powers, and then the grading scale that came with the powers. The other problem that I had with the powers was essentially at first, God of High School had impeccable detail to other martial arts. They did really well in establishing other martial arts, and then the fairness that comes with people who fight with different types of martial arts, and then utilizing the power powers when doing the martial arts. Mm-hmm. After a while, that doesn't even matter. Like as far as I know, in God of High School, Taekwondo is the greatest martial art of all time. There's nothing else better than it. Right? Yeah. Just recoilless kick is my god. That sound barrier shot.
Maybe. That's the point.
I really like
just maybe.
Realistically, yes.
That's the point.
And it's like but it's so ridiculous. And then
it is.
It's annoying as hell.
Who's doing it?
I know it's a Korean dude doing it.
You got King doing.
It might be the point. It's just Taekwondo, because like you said, everyone relying more on power. But the whole thing about the main dude is like even what they said. It was like he was a problem. He was the Monkey King at first. Now he got reborn and he learned martial arts. Now he's even more of a threat. And it's like the martial arts what made him a monster. And it was like,
because until when he was to his point, it was because people were focusing more on ball power. But that's season 2. That's season 2.
And it's like that was a factor. But as season 1 progressed, when they had the dude who basically his ball power was the original karate master.
Oh yeah.
When they had him. Yeah. And then Diwali was like he was upset because he was like he wanted him to be his ball power because he would have utilized and helped and perfected karate for him, and it was like he would have been able to do it better. And then that guy fought a dude who had Bruce Lee as his borrowed power, and it was because it was the Japanese team, and then the Japanese team fought the Chinese team that came to try and get like the Monkey King and them when they were doing that little tournament thing. And the guy had Bruce Lee's power, and then as a borrowed power, and then he had a quick little fight with the guy who had the karate master, and then that's when it cleared to me, and I was like, okay, this isn't really a martial art story that is fair to all martial arts.
What do you mean?
It's a biasing. Because the dude who was the karate master is Korean. Remember that? He was Korean. Yeah, and then it's like he went to Japan and he perfected and made karate. Yeah, and like you got that movie. His best friend made the pachinko machines and everything. Yeah, and it's like so. Then it was like he had a quick little fight against a guy who had Bruce Lee as a borrowed power, and there was no detailed explanation of him just basically being a better martial artist than the guy. They didn't go into them utilizing the martial arts correctly or anything like that. Just they had a quick little fight, and then he beat the Bruce Lee guy. And it's like, as someone who knows about martial arts, there should have been a hell of a lot more to that fight than just ending that way. Regardless of if you wanted to be like the person who had Bruce Lee as a borrowed power just wasn't on the level of, or as the training as the other guy. You should have established that. Yeah. And it was like, to have it just be a quick fight and then he loses.
I mean, to your point, it was a quick fight. It wasn't, maybe you wanted to see more of that fight given those borrowed powers and who they were and what they represent.
That's why. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So because it didn't do that. They just
didn't focus on that, I think, because the build-up was for, I forget, you keep calling him Diwali, but it's like Dan, Dwayne, something.
D-A-W-E-I.
Dwayne, I'll just call him Dwayne. It was to see the dude have that martial art guy hit the ball power and then see how he was utilizing them so he can then perfect his own martial art a little bit better.
Right.
Because that's what happened. So I think you're taking what was a stepping stone and want to make it more because of who the bar powers were.
And that's
and how, and to your point, and also how they kind of established in the beginning that, we're focusing on martial art. We literally got two guys who got bar powers who are martial artists. This should be one hell of a fight.
Exactly.
But it wasn't made out to be that because it was a stepping stone for character development for Dwight. So.
And that's where I had the issue. It's simply like I had an issue.
You didn't agree with that.
Yeah, I didn't, and like that's just one moment of that. But it's the simple fact that like after a while, it then stops becoming basically it stops catering towards martial arts outside of Taekwondo and just start doing a hell of a lot of flashy stuff. And like as I kept reading God of High School, I just said like, yo, this is all style, no substance. And it's like the story is basically, it's just like I'm interested in the story because I want to see where it gets to. But I was like, that's the same thing with One Piece with me. And it's like, and it's like I like it, but I'm kind of into to see how it friggin' ends. And with but with God of High School, it's just I just want to see how this ends. Yeah. So I stopped caring about everything that was going on, but the more I started getting engrossed in everything that was going on, when they introduced people in different types of martial arts and different fighting styles, combining that with a borrowed power and then utilizing that correctly, and then just having different ways about doing stuff. Even with the karate dude that knew Mori Jin, the fact that he was doing those karate moves, I was like, that wasn't a borrowed power thing. Right. It was like he doing the fist of the black turtle and all that stuff, and it was like that was all him. Yeah, and he was like, okay, why isn't there other people like this that are competing and are in this level in this world? Because as far as I know, it's the grandpa. That was it. Like the only person who strived to be this ridiculous, crazy martial artist that the six ever had a problem with was just the grandfather. But then it was like
granddad and the old dude that did acupuncture.
Yeah. But I'm saying like, why aren't there other people? Like really?
Well, I guess because if everyone else already knew about these other borrowed powers.
Well, not even borrowed power. Just regular martial artists or people who just strive on their own to get ridiculously strong and would be on the level. We know that there were people out there who gave a grandfather a run for his money. The dude from North Korea that fought the grandfather and then he died. And it was like that was someone that the grandfather was like I had to copy your style in order to get stronger. And then it was like, and it made me stronger because of it. But it's like, so someone like that exists. There's more than just Korea in this world. And it was like you've introduced other countries in this world. And
again, like, I guess I think you wanted him to focus, or the writer or the story to focus more on something it wasn't trying to focus on.
Well, it's not to focus on it, but to at least acknowledge it. Because we've had the grandfather be this ridiculous threat that these people who were considered the strongest among the strongest, the six, would even go, this motherfucker's a problem. Right. It's like all of us jumped him and we didn't even kill him.
Right.
And it's like, but we've also established that the grandfather not only trained ridiculously strong people, but he's fought ridiculously strong people who didn't use borrowed power. Yeah, so you would only be led to acknowledge that other people in this world exist that are, if not weaker than the grandfather, are somewhere near the grandfather's strength.
Yeah, and I guess to that point, they will all be the grandfather's age, and maybe
and then that would go because it's just like the world has changed to the point of like, yeah, if I know I can use a power, I don't really need to learn.
And that's what I was about to say. Yeah, honestly, because
but
that was what they mentioned after a while as well. They were like, well, yeah, you're focusing so much, which is the point of season 2.
That was the point of season 2.
To show you, it's like, yeah, y'all focus on borrowed power. Don't get me wrong, amazing, but the martial art, the fundamentals that humans created, if you utilize it the right way, it almost damn near far exceeds the borrowed power stuff, or it's comparable to the borrowed power.
That was the focus of season 2. But in the beginning of season 1, what I'm saying is that because they stay in season 2 was the fact that not a lot of people knew about the whole borrowed power thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's just the fact that no one acknowledged that there could be other people out there. It's just the acknowledgement of, hey, there are people who out there who, even though if they knew about borrowed power, because even some of the people in the 6 didn't have borrowed power.
That's true.
And it's like, even though they knew about that, they didn't utilize that. They tried to get stronger on their own strength. The gangster, the homeless dude, the gangster dude, and the acupuncture guy,
and the magician.
No, that was his borrowed power. The borrowed power was a magician thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it was like we have these people.
Was it? Or was it just a weapon?
No.
I thought it was a national treasure. His little thing.
That's what I was thinking.
No, because remember his
grandson.
Grandson had the magician thing also.
Right,
and it was like he also got the power.
That's what I was saying, but he was the magician, but his borrowed power was the sworn brother of the Monkey King, that bird dude. That was his borrowed power.
No, not that magician. I'm talking about the old guy that was part of the 6.
I know that's what. No, I'm saying was the wand. Was that just a national treasure instead of it being borrowed power? I don't know if that was saying the grandson. He had the wand also.
Right.
But his borrowed power was the bird dude. That's what I was saying. So is the wand.
His borrowed power was the bird?
That the dude that was the sworn brother.
That wasn't the grandson.
Yeah, I don't think that was the grandson.
That was after the time skip. That was the dude. He was told you're going to be just like the magician dude, and then he was like, everyone's putting me in that world, and then he was like, and then he got the borrowed power of Garuda. Yeah, and that was another thing that pissed me off is that them and their Garuda's Indian. That's never met the Monkey King. And I was like, that's not a sworn bro. Oh!
But again, the mere fact that all the heavenly realms exist in this one world anyway doesn't make sense. I like that though. I deeply enjoy it.
I would have,
because they're all in their own realms and they know about each other, and only thing that really is the supreme God. But other than that, they're all like, well, I'm stronger than you. So I live in my own realm, but I'm stronger. I know who you are, but I like that.
Doing that was fine, but it was just another thing. Because I noticed like a lot of people in like comments and stuff like that. I was like, okay, so it's not just me, But someone took the time out to type this. I was like, well, at least I'm not alone. But certain things and certain aspects and how he went about certain characters, or just certain like gods and deities and whatnot, and his little explanation for them and things like that. And it's like it's like you're clearly leaning towards the Buddhist stuff a lot, and it was like that's fine. But at the same time, in accordance to how these other, and it's like you're bringing up these other gods from these other religions and whatnot, and it's like you have to understand one how touchy of a subject that already is, even doing something like I'm just saying, but like just the simple fact of how they have their gods and establish their gods. A lot of their gods basically either dwarf or just bring into question certain other gods from other religions, And it's like, I have, like, the Greeks had a god for fire. But it's like, okay, well, this religion had a god for fire. So, it's like, all right, well, then you got 2 gods of fire now. And it's like, well, what does that mean, And it's like, bring attention to that. Bring notice to that.
Again, I think you're pointing out details that wasn't necessary.
It's not necessary.
I get it, because for you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's more like, now that I brought up these 2 fire deities, these 2 fire gods, what is that? Like, what you need to say, like, all right, they're 2 different religions, but they're 2 different gods. But why is there 2 different gods for the same type of element?
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
right,
why
to me,
why
it's
you do this?
Detail because those gods exist in some form or fashion, right? Because those are gods that people at a certain period of time believed in.
Yes.
So for me, it was like, well, the mere fact that he brought them up and to say that there's 2 and leave it at that, it's fine because there is 2 because. Those 2 are guys if somebody believes.
Somebody believes.
So that's fine. I don't need I didn't need them to go into the history of those gods because, again, the story's not about those gods.
Right.
They just borrowed powers until they became real. Well, they are real. But for me, it was all about, it still kind of stuck with the three main characters to a certain point until they got to Mori Jin. But it was all about the fighting and what they were doing. The gods were introduced, but even then when it came down, it wasn't, like when Zeus came down, he didn't give everything about his history, Athena and all this other stuff. It was Zeus. He was awkward. And dude had an anger issue, but which probably is not too far off.
And
but,
rapey.
Right. But outside of that, I didn't need too much. Like, he stuck close enough for me as far as those guys being true to their character. To some extent. It wasn't all right, without a doubt. But it was good enough for me to be like, okay, I can see that you did a little bit of research on these gods to introduce them and to allow them to actually come down, have a little interaction and quirks with other gods, and be that as it may. I was fine with that. I didn't need him to go into too much detail about them because the story wasn't about that.
Right.
And for me, that's why. Just because he brought it up, cool. You showed it. You showed that you did a little research. Cool. As far as I don't need to go too much into more detail than that. However, don't get me wrong. Does it make for a more compelling story and more detailed and really dive deep into that? Sure. But the story wasn't about that, though.
And the issue comes around the fact of, essentially, especially the second season itself really fucked up a lot. But when it introduced basically Buddha, Takahata or whatever. They're supposed to be just Buddha. Okay. When they had him and established him as basically being the all god, right. And the strongest out of all and everything, which in itself is after you've introduced someone like Odin. Like even in the last chapter, the guy looked at Odin and made him cut his head off, and he just picked it up and put it back on, and what's happening? And, it's like, okay, well, that's where the issue with me is that it started leaning towards favoritism of a religion rather than it being. And it's like that's just a small.
The story that he kind of created.
Would you prefer if they just made up a new being entirely?
But one shouldn't even brought up the Buddha. The fact that basically the Buddha is now the ultimate get back up again villain is so stupid. And it's like, okay, like you've been dead on the moon all this time, and now all of a sudden he's going to be reborn. It was
because
okay.
The ritual was finally finished.
Fuck.
But that was a thing that was actually established since the beginning.
Like it's a thing that was established since the beginning.
Huh? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, would you enjoy it more, because like you said, they're showing favoritism. If they've just said it was a whole new being entirely.
No, because it shouldn't have been that the end all goal was to be resurrecting the god. A god that's stronger than all the gods. Yeah, and it's like it shouldn't have been that. Like if the story was to have led towards just the actual of what it was doing, just basically more Mujin Pak trying to lead a new world order with humans, and then Morihjin trying to help out and get revenge for what Mujin Pak did to him, and then basically the crossroads and all of the shit line where it may in the aftermath of what all they've been doing since this time skip has happened, that would have been fine. But then it got to a point where they was like, okay, we need a big baddie in order for this to actually end, or otherwise, like we're going nowhere. So the big baddie is going to be this god that we've already established that is dead, and then we're going to bring them back in order for that person to become the big baddie. We're then going to renege on a lot of the major character focus behind Mujin Pak, as well as just renege on a hell of a lot of other concepts that we've already established at the end of season 1. Well, let's bring back all the gods that were basically banished since Ragnarok at the end, because
not banished, they signed a treaty.
They signed a treaty. And it was like, well, let's just we'll bring them back now, because we don't have any characters that outside of the main characters that we've tried to build up as strong characters. It's only been the main characters. If they were to have other people aside of them who we didn't need to focus on, but no, they're strong as well, which they could have did when the grandfather was fucking alive, then we would have known that there's strong people out there. People who don't normally contend with the whole borrow power thing, people who use borrow power thing, but don't even care what Mujin Pak is doing. But we didn't do that. We just had, these are the main characters. These are only the strong people. These are the villains. These are only the strong people. Now these people have reached the head. We have nowhere else to go. Because once we're done with them, that's it. Because these are only the strong people in this entire series. We have given you no context of there being anything else that will remotely fit in being or a contender with them. When it did Ragnarok and it ended the way that it did, It was like creative. I'll give them that. And I was like creative, and having him turn young and all that, and being angry and whatnot. Creative. And I was like, yeah. I was like, it's different. You want to do a time skip? Fine. That's a creative way to do a time skip.
Yeah.
But then outside of this time skip, you should have also established that other people have gotten strong, over the years, to compete and contend with all of the other major characters. That way I can see whether or not there will be other incidents or inclinations that, hey, something bad could happen if they're not.
And here's where I'll disagree. Because after the war ended, that was it. There was no need for anybody to really do anything else. Sure, to your point, if you had those individuals like the grandfather who were just strong naturally, they would have been trained this whole time anyway, so they'd just been stronger in their martial art. But the issue now was that Mujin Park had favor of the world, thinking that he saved everyone when he lied. So now we have to deal with more of a political battle. Because you have the Fox guy.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now he's about to become the world president.
Right.
And it's a simple fact that basically the story was progressing that way to where it became political. It literally, the Fox dude brought up to Morihjin and the karate dude, and he was like, basically, you guys don't understand. The world thinks that you all are monsters. Right. So no matter what you do, you're not going to be seeing it right. And then they specifically told him, we don't care. Right. It's just getting revenge over what this motherfucker did to us all these years ago. And it was like, yes, this is the mindset that you need to have. And I was like, I'm cool with the storyline going this way. This is fine. This is perfect. Even when they fought Mujin Park a couple of times, they were stronger than him. They were better than him. And then he was like, I'm still not strong enough. And it was like, all right, better robot arm, you know. And it was like more
better
stuff.
Yeah,
it was like, it was like more stuff being done to me. And it was like, yeah, okay. So, and it was like this roundabout pseudo bad guy, good guy fight and whatnot. And I was like, this is okay. This is fine. Considering what the story was and then progressing to this level from what it was, them fighting gods that were literally destroying the world and that being used to turn against them and making them seem like villains, fine. This is a fine storyline. And then just halfway through it, the prophecy needs to be refilled to bring back the old God. Why? It's just why? And it's like, why are you doing this? This is an unnecessary plot point that, yes, it was established in the beginning, but because it wasn't something that was a major focus, it was just talked about. It was like it was forgotten just as quickly as it was introduced.
Well, and here's where I have to disagree, because it wasn't that it was forgotten. The Nox's only point was to bring him back. That was their only reason for being there in the first place. And then
as soon as
that was a group that was in the beginning, they didn't go away. That was a whole thing they kept saying we're going to do. We're going to bring back the Supreme God.
And it's simply the fact that if it would have been creative as hell, because Dwight became the Jade Emperor, which in itself is already a ridiculous way of doing the Jade Emperor. But when he became the Jade Emperor, that should have been the understanding and that should have been that would have been an amazing 180 turn from these villains, because these villains now, especially after the time skip, are now good guys.
Yeah, because they're under him.
Yeah, and it's like, so because they're under him, they're now the good guys. So by that logic, it's like, because they're under him, it should be established that they're no longer going to proceed to what they originally was going to do.
Right, but they didn't, because here's what ended up changing was the
white-haired dude made the Neo-Nox.
Right.
But his goal
was still the same thing.
Yeah, that was his goal.
Right.
Yeah, and it was like
that was always his goal.
Right. But it's like
that would happen in the cult.
Yeah, that's a cult mindset, but I'm saying, like, it would have been creative as hell if essentially it didn't happen. Just how would that would have been far better perceived than sitting there going, okay, I'm gonna watch this slow burn of him basically achieving what he wants to achieve, rather than a slow burn of him going through all these links to achieve what he wants to achieve, and then it can't happen. He was lied to this whole time. He wasn't the prophet. There wasn't no prophet. The prophecy was broken a long time ago. And it was like, yeah, you can't bring that God back. So now we're still going to focus and do what we already had happening, or what we're already having happening.
Mujin Park, and then that's it?
Yeah, like if it just, like, it's just like, yep.
That's lackluster.
It's not.
Very lackluster.
It's not. I'm saying, like, if they were to tackle it, not in the sense of what they were doing to lead up to the ending that they got, and if they were to deviate from that, I'm saying, like, that would have been a totally different thing. Not that, like, it following the path that it was following and then it just didn't happen. But more so if he planned out that it wasn't going to happen and then followed that path line. that would have made for a far compelling and far more interesting story.
It's speculation, right? We
It's speculation.
Don't even know what that is.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, to me, that would have been a far more inventive and creative way of handling what he's handled, rather than basically right now in the second season, he's just doing Ragnarok again. That's all he's doing. He's doing, like, instead of the Jade Emperor, is now Mugen Pak. It's literally the same fucking thing.
It's the same without all the gods really interacting and being there with everyone else. Right now, it's pretty much Jade Emperor, excuse me, Satan, and
Odin.
And Odin's,
yeah.
He's there. He's not doing anything.
He's there and they're not doing anything,
right.
Which is even more dumb. And it's like him and the Monkey King sitting there watching Satan fight. Fucking move. And I was like, do something.
What's Odin gonna do?
Who knows and who cares? The nigga rode a scooter and killed I don't know how many people. So he could do something.
He's not gonna do anything.
That's probably that was the scooter.
It was like,
but again, it's very opinionated of you, of course, because that's what it is. It's your opinion on it, and I can't argue your opinion. But to say that it would have been better based off something that we have no idea, not better, more interesting, and it just would have been different. Because what it's doing right now is again just a repeat of what it's already done, and so it's just that to me is lackluster. Okay. And then it's like you're now just copying something you've already done again. For what? And then it's like when you end this, it can only end one way. You know, you can only end this one way. But we don't know.
We don't know. I'm pretty sure you're probably gonna pull a rabbit out of his ass and then be like, third season to go to high school.
Maybe not.
Wait Sunday, folks. Weeknights on ABC. like, no, this is dumb.
My boy down. This is dumb. Doing good with his writing. I enjoy it. I get your points, but to me, it's like the old saying I say with Jameson Tom. We're talking dragons, meaning that we're talking about something that doesn't exist.
Right. But the essence are real. But an essence, a discussion is a discussion.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So it's just to this. What's up with God? Like another thing within the first one. It was like first season. It was like came back to the whole martial arts things and the favoritism towards the Korean. And it's like I give a pass towards a lot of the stuff because of basically there is no representation for them. There's not a lot of representation for Taekwondo, Korean culture, Korean understanding of their religious culture and whatnot within other medias.
I mean, it's the same thing as more like how you see black people doing more African-like things. I mean, you can't be mad at that. Right. Can't be.
The thing is, God High School doesn't have Egyptian gods.
Yeah, right. They sure don't.
They do not have Egyptian gods. I was like, that's something that I always like. I was like, they had Shiva. They didn't have Egyptian gods.
I mean, they barely had any black people.
Man, I didn't know black people. They had one black dude, and it was talking about how dangerous he was, and then he got knocked out real quick.
The Macedonian dude?
Yeah, I believe so. Not him. Not the Macedonian dude.
I guess he kind of counted, but not really.
Yeah, it was someone. It was someone that they had from Africa, I believe.
Oh, I mean, also you got the black dude on the American team who had wasn't he the one that had the Holy Grail?
No, he was from the Vatican. He was from the Vatican team.
Right. Black dude did have the Holy Grail.
He did have the Holy Grail.
Okay. That was another black dude. Black dudes mixed up.
Okay. It's true. The few black guys were there. You're right. Okay. But you're right. He did not. And that would have been cool to see.
It would have been definitely cool to see.
Without doubt.
Anyone pop up with Horus, I was like, well, game over. I was like, game over. That's a bird. It's a plane. It's Horus, the sun god. Got a life. Over with.
Well, Anubis and skeletons
and everything.
It's like, oh, look at that. Yeah. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Without doubt. Yeah. If you listen to this podcast, guy who creates God of High School, I don't know your name, but I do like your work. Yeah, what's up with the not having the African Egyptian gods, man?
Right.
Stop. On something that could have been amazing. I mean, hell, he took the time out to have a guy who had like the shotgun gun thing, which I thought was funny. Yeah. And that was interesting. Yeah. He can copy anime fighting styles. Yeah. For a very short second, he was there. I was like, that's funny.
And then he was basically a giant weeb. Yeah, and he was like, oh, my power. So he's like, I got to keep it hidden. And I was like, yeah, this is funny.
Yeah. And that's right. He was putting the context in for the
yeah.
What are you doing? I'm putting in my context. I activated my shotgun. I thought it was funny. It was there for a hot second. But to your point, I get it. Yeah. But to you, what you were about to say, that you understand that there isn't a lot of representation of the
Korean stuff. And then it was like, I give a lot of leeway towards a lot of the things that they do. But at the same time, I also understand, and I know, especially when it comes to the Monkey King, how that story actually progressed and what the Journey to the West story actually is. So when his approach towards the Monkey King is basically showing a lot of respect at what the Monkey King is as a being, especially as just like this creature that the gods feared and whatnot. Yes, respect towards that. Okay. But in the actual conceptual piece of the Journey to the West story, not at all. And it's like of what the Monkey King actually became and what he strived to do, even what the priest did. And it's like not at all. Like just because when he did the backstory of the Monkey King, which was
he made a woman anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you made it a woman. That's nothing.
Okay,
that's nothing.
I mean, I'm just a lot of things were distorted to fit his story. I think to focus on certain aspects of that and to make it relate to.
I mean, even that was just terrible writing because he mixed.
I liked it.
No, he mixed in his backstory with Mugen Pak's backstory.
He did. Which doesn't make any sense.
And then at the same time, Mugen Pak's backstory should have been showcased a long fucking time ago. They showed it like right when he was fighting the white-haired dude at a pivotal moment where it just doesn't matter. And then it was like this backstory and all this information at this point in time don't fucking matter anymore.
That's what a lot of people say. Like, I still don't like him.
Yeah, and it's like you can't. And it's like you couldn't do that, like narrative wise. And it's like all this is doing.
And that's not just bad writing. I think we should clear that up. That's not bad writing. It's just the placement of said writing was weird and like I don't know why you did that.
No, if he took this writing and he moved it over here instead of over there, bad writing. And it was like because you messed up the placing. Bad writing. And it was like, okay, this character's backstory is now at the end of the movie instead of the beginning of the movie, where it just could have been the story before everything else. Bad writing. Just like, and I'm just going, I want to put the backstory right here. And it was like, but I'm saying, if I've already seen this character do like, if you're watching Star Wars and you basically watch Star Wars, the one where Darth Vader goes, Luke, I am your father. Yeah. And you watch all of that Star Wars, and then you watch the very first Star Wars when Luke goes, who's my dad? And it was like, oh, I knew your father a long time ago. Then, stupid. And it was like, now what you're looking at is stupid. But you chose to look at the second movie first, and the first movie second. Bad. And it was like, that is bad.
Not bad writing. That's my only thing. It can be bad, just not bad writing.
And it's just like how that progressed and everything they was doing. Bad. And I was just like, this is dumb. This is stupid. I'm not interested in this. When I was actually interested in learning at who the fuck this guy is, that's when it would have been pivotal to put in what the fuck he's done and who the hell he is. And it's like mystery part of it aside. And it was like if you was to just do any of this, they could have shown his backstory right when he killed the grandfather. Then I would have, and it was like this would have been
maybe a little bit. Yeah.
And it was like they could have did it right when he killed the grandfather. And it was like, then I would have just known, like, what? Because I'm already in a stupor as to him killing the grandfather and everything that's going on. But then you also get to see his backstory and what all that was involved with his relationship with the white-haired dude as a part of Knox, what that religion was doing and everything that was going on. And it's like, I still might not agree with what was happening with the grandfather, but I didn't see this dude basically just put on this whole racism, humans first among everything, but only if they Generation X type of bullshit. I didn't get to see it. I wouldn't have gotten to that point yet. And it was like, I just would have known what his drive was up until this moment, and then just got to learn a little bit more about his character. But at the point in time when they showed his backstory, I didn't give a damn. And it's like, what? Yeah, it's like, I don't
think
care.
Anybody did.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's like, and that makes it ultimately pointless. So it's like showing this backstory, regardless of the information that it's giving, is pointless if at this point in time this information doesn't matter. Yeah. And it was like, this does not matter.
And technically it matters to the story, just the reader does not care.
Does not care.
No one cares.
Because at this point, nobody likes him.
Yeah, nobody likes him. And then it's like, you literally...
But it made sense for the story, even though this part of the story, I think we all agree we don't like, is how similar it was to Mori General and Monkey King and his story. Yeah. It's like, why are their stories similar? What is that like for what? Why is that? Why does that have to do with anything?
It's like
we don't know yet because the story's not done. Maybe there is a certain weird point. I don't know. But I agree with you. When I read the backstory of Mugen Park, I'm like, I don't care about this guy. I'm like, I still don't like him. Nigga has to die. He's still gonna die. Okay, sure. It was some stuff that was going on in your past that's kind of effed up, and you weren't such a bad guy, but you are now.
You was a pretentious dick. And then you got shown up, and then you just crying about it. Then you met a chick who could read minds,
Right.
and for some reason they just didn't want to go to Coke Geass route, get this bitch some headphones. And then I was like, that's all they needed to do. And then she just, this got serial killer, but campaigning on the crowd. They're like, oh, he stabbed his neck in the middle of an alleyway. I don't know, he's a serial killer.
It's weird, cause like she like pushed that old lady when she walked by her, cause you just showed her walk, and she's good. And he's like, what the? What's your problem? She was like, and it was like, yeah, she heard what she thought, and I was like, hey, if you're willing to push an old lady, there's no bars for you.
It's like but it's like the placement of that backstory, having that be a thing, basically having that fight being stalled by Mugen Park fighting the white-haired dude, and then basically you got Mori Jin fighting a clone. It doesn't even fucking matter. And it's like that fight was so stupid because he turned into Killua's lightning form, and then I was like, ooh. What? I was like, what is this? I used the lightning from the cloud and it made me strong. That's not how electricity works. And then it's like, it
does to a clone.
It doesn't make any sense. If I strike myself with lightning, I become the lightning. It's like, what? It's like, Hunter x Hunter has the gay aspect of being like, yeah, we have abilities that allow us to turn stuff into whatever we want it to be.
Though, he's a clone of a god.
So, okay.
Right.
I don't care.
There's no lightning though. He got lightning from a special cloud.
But he should
not only that, but isn't he a clone from one of his hairs at that?
Yeah, no. He's a clone from America. That's why he should have exploded.
No, he's saying.
Oh, right.
He's a clone from the one that fought in the tournament.
And he took his blood.
No, that's what he was saying. He was saying he cloned from the hair.
Oh yeah.
All I'm saying is that he's still part God. Anything can happen. Still part God.
He shouldn't exist.
He shouldn't have been made.
His existence is weird. It's straight up weird. And he already should have broke down because he was made in America. I was like, American things don't hold up over time.
There's nothing wrong with America.
Nothing wrong with America, but there's stuff wrong with things being made in America.
Nah, good old America.
You take your shit overseas if you want to get it. I want my car made in China, and I wanted to run smooth. That's what I want. But no. And it was like, okay, so what is the purpose of this character showing up right here, right now? Well, let's give him some BS reason of wanting to prove that he's better than the original.
Because there was another clone at the time, and again, it was all about who was the real one.
Yeah, but we also already did the whole clone having the
memories
what is it?
of
what is it called? You've been through
words today.
I know, right?
Man, college is a motherfucker. It was like, I ain't learned shit. We ain't learned shit. Existential crisis. Okay. We've already had the clone going through the whole, am I better than the original? Can I be better than the original?
But he was aware that he was a clone.
Right.
These guys don't, even
but
though
then
he
wasn't thinking of being better. He was just saying, like, my existence doesn't matter to these people because they're just waiting for him.
Yeah.
And it was like,
but his whole thing was like, he was like, man, I'm still not even close to doing what he could do. And it was like, I'm just borrowing some of his power. And it was like, I'm not even useful to them, and I should be. Now, that was Mori Hugh. That was his whole thing. And it's like, we got the clone being...
R.I.P. to Mori Hugh, man. He went out like a real G, man.
Nigga had no arms and no legs. It was like, I'm going to bite your ass.
Went out like a real G. You know what I mean? R.I.P. to Mori Hugh. Never forgot.
Need to get this shirt made today.
Let me find a good picture of Mori Hugh.
Wear that before people understand. Like run around Mori Hugh, and they can be like, "Who the hell is that?
Right.
Oh, is that Mori Jin? Why he missing arms and legs?" It's like, man, this is Mori Hugh. You just don't know.
Right.
Show you right. Wasted all his damn money in his bank account. It's like just stupid. But we already had that clone go through that problem. Yes. So then to show another clone have the same problem because they're literally copying Ragnarok over again. It's stupid. And it was like, and then like the whole point of his fight was simply to stop him from going after Mugen Park. Yes. And it's like to ensure that this prophecy definitely comes true. Because I'm not gonna leave the cave. Like to ensure that it comes true, we have to make sure that the main character, who is perfectly capable of whooping this dude's ass right now, cannot whoop his ass right now, but instead is blocked by some dumbass BS reason, other than the clone going, finally, I'm gonna fight. Not the time, dude. It was like, not the time. And it was like, I clearly got stuff going on, and you are in the way. And then the main character was basically leagues above him in fighting style. And that was the whole clone's point, is that I just want to touch it. And it was like, just let me touch you. And then it's like, you can't touch him. But the series is built around people getting back up for BS reasons. His recoiling kick him in the neck, and then he's good. And then he went down like Krillin, like Gohan when Raccoon kicked him. He went down like that, and he got back up. And then it was like, what is the point of this? And it was like, he's not going to go down until the story requires him to stay down. Right. Otherwise, he's just going to keep getting back up. And it's like, this is a BS reason to how the story goes. This is bad writing. And it was like, I'm not believing that he's incapable of even reaching close to his strength if he's constantly getting back up. But you're showing the main character is looking at him like, you're not a factor to me. So why is he a factor then? Does not compute. It just does not compute. This is stupid. And just, and the blue-haired chick being pregnant, the fuck that come from? I'm pregnant.
Well, first of all, that whole thing.
I was glad when she died.
Weird.
I clapped.
You clapped?
I was glad she was gone. I hated it.
That was so weird.
I didn't like that he knew her when she was a little kid. And then he impregnated her.
That's
not cool.
I was like,
again, maybe it's an Asian thing.
Right, because that's what I looked at it and I went, freaking Asians. I was like, what's with them in doing that?
He raised her.
Yes.
She was like...
And she was like, hey.
You know what I raised you for, right?
Like, hey, Papa. Yeah?
Papa.
Oh, for real? You know, all them scars and missing an arm really doing it for me.
What?
It's like, okay.
Even he was confused.
Okay. And also, the homeless stick chick performing the C-section in the middle of nowhere with no medical equipment. Yeah, the chick who's supposed to become the leader of the homeless, who had the staff. She got the staff made out of the two.
X chick.
Oh, her.
Yeah, she performed the C-section.
Right.
She's not a doctor.
She's not.
She's not a doctor.
You don't know the education system.
Shut up. She performed a C-section, a goddamn C-section on a preemie baby. That baby was not even she was barely 3 months old.
Yeah.
And then she performed a C-section. The baby dead. And it was like, she was stabbed. And then she was like, oh, maybe we can save the baby. No, you can't. And it was like, while she was stabbed, that's it for the baby. That's a complete no-go. And then it's just, oh, you're not a Generation X. Here, take this to remember me by. And I went, oh boy, is this foreshadowing for another season? Because you're going to do another time skip that's going to result in Ragnarok again? You stupid bastard. And it was like, so stupid. Maybe the baby will be raised by the student of Mori Jin. And he'll go, my master's a great guy, but I don't like him. And I know that you're going to be the future, because I can see the future. Wait, the future's changing. I didn't see this coming. It's like, oh boy.
I doubt it. I see you being very funny, but that's not going to happen.
This is so stupid. And it's like, but it can happen, Kevin. It's the fact that it
I can walk outside and the puppy can smack me across my face.
And why? It can happen.
It can happen, but it's not.
It's never 0%.
But it's like, as long as it's not completely zero. And I was like, you need to be prepared. And it's like, you
can't make this writing, you can't make God of High School worse than what it is because of what it could do. That's stupid.
But it's because of the clues that it's giving me that are letting me believe that it could do.
This is your imagination.
No. It's the fact that I can believe, yo, this could happen. And it's like, it shouldn't even have been a thing that my brain would have went, yo, this could happen.
How many times have you told yourself that?
I read shit all the time.
Exactly. Well, nigga, come on.
I'm reading stuff all the time, and then it's like, yo, put context clues together. Okay, we got ourselves a primo baby that should be dead. He looked at it and went, oh, you're not a Generation X, but this will be my only gift to you because you're not part of the chosen one. I was like, wow, really Hitler-y of you, but okay. And then I was like, well, we already did a time skip before, and then we're going into the Ragnarok again, so who's to say that we wouldn't get another time skip that also would deviate into another Ragnarok situation that also wouldn't make that this primo baby would become a major character now. Raised by the Generation X kids who will look at him and go, your father was Mugen Park. He was an okay guy in small doses. And I was like, but for the most part, his whole thing was that God killed a bunch of people. So what did he do? He killed a bunch of people. Made no sense. But hey, we're gonna worship you forever, little kid. Probably he'll tell you your shit smell like roses, and you're gonna believe it. Believe it. Naruto. It's the cornerstone of this entire webcomic.
That's how you became Naruto.
kid's gonna grow up believing I want to be Hokage. And I was like, well, this is going in the right direction. And I was like, God, high school did it again. And I was like, oh boy, next one was gonna have a death note. And I was like, oh boy, we reached pinnacle stupid. And, oh boy, he got a death note. And that kid got a DI. Yeah, this is retarded. And it's the fact that like basically compared to something like Noblesse,
okay,
which damn near does the exact same thing as far as villains go. Because eventually, Noblesse will get to a point where every single villain will show up cloaked. That's something that's really fucking stupid. Everybody wears cloaks. I don't know why. It's like everyone's hiding themselves before they reveal themselves, and then you don't know who they are. Because it don't matter. And it was like, this is my first time seeing you. Why are you wearing a cloak? And it was like, you did not need to be hidden, but you were. I like to assume that it was for comic reasons. So because like, I didn't feel like drawing this incredibly detailed character, so they're wearing a cloak. But every time they introduce villains, they all have cloaks. And that is a problem for me. And then every villain, after a while, just basically hyper-regenerates. That just becomes the crux. I'm not capable of beating you, but I can heal. It's like, and then nothing you can do about that, because I can heal. And the fact that God of High School does that so much is so ridiculous to me. Because I stop caring about the fights. Because then it becomes a matter of basically fairy tale bullshit. Of like who believes in themselves more. You know? And it's like the good guy who's gonna win or the bad guy who could just keep healing himself. And it's like this is the Majin Buu fights in Dragon Ball Z just carried out over a long periods of sagas. And even that had its own symbolism of actually being fair. Because there have been multiple times in Dragon Ball Z where you saw Majin Buu run for his fucking life. Because he was afraid. I'm going to die. And it was like, this person fighting is scary. And it was like, he's going to kill me. And it was like, you can regenerate on a molecular level. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It was like, we need to get the hell out of here. But it's like, with God High School, it's just, okay, this villain just got a power up. Now I am undefeatable. You cannot be stopped. There's nothing you can do. And it's like, we got to keep trying, guys. And it's like, they keep getting up the peons. What the first is going to be the dude with the blue hair who got the avarice that just keeps eating everybody. And then, like, it eats himself. Yeah. And it's like, I am now avarice. And I was like, that's how the bar of power works or whatever. And then, like, he's even still constantly brought up in God of High School currently. And it was like, why?
It's hinted at.
Yeah, and then it was like
the power or whatever.
Yeah, and it was like the avarice thing. And then it was like, well, L was it the whole time? And I was like, well, L or R? Who was the blind one? Yeah. R. It was like, R was it the whole time? And I was like, alright. Yeah,
and I was like, okay. I was okay with that.
I was like, whatever. I was actually the son of the Emperor Jade Emperor, okay. I was like, alright. What does that do? I hated humans. But you know, now that I think about it, I was raised by a human. My friends are all humans, and maybe I like him. Oh, I'm dead. And then I was like, okay, all right. It's just terrible. I do not like it. I do not like it, Sam. I do not like Green Eggs and Ham. I do not like God of High School. I do not like it. Main character, a fool. Even that with the Monkey King thing. Going back to that, like knowing what I know about the Monkey King and the Journey to the West story. The concept of basically painting the Monkey King into being like a typical shonen protagonist where he's kind of idiotic and stupid. Nah. Because how the Monkey King is, he's literally a trickster. And it's like, he's quite clever. It's just the fact that simply he didn't understand normal concepts of just being generally good or just the deviation of actually giving forgiveness to someone. If you slighted him, you deserve to die. You know, and it's like, you dare to sit there and go, hey, you ain't nobody. And then it was just like, yo, a smackdown. You out of there. Even when they showed the backstory between him and the girl, and he was like, a bunch of demons were dead. And then he was like, yeah, they were going to come and kill you. And then she was like, you didn't even think to forgive him. He was like, why? Like, they were coming to kill you. Like, this makes no sense. But it's like, that was the whole point of the Journey to the West, was that it was a teaching moment for him. And then at the end of it, they were all gifted godlyhood. Okay. So, but the story of the Journey to the West was the fact that it wasn't just about the monk and the Monkey King. It was the monk, the Monkey King, the pig, and I cannot remember what demon he was supposed to be. He's like a water demon. Mm-hmm. But it's like all three of them, the Monkey King, the pig, and the water demon dude, were brothers. Like the sworn brother that he had with the Ox King, he had the same thing with the rest of them.
Gotcha.
And then the monk was their master, and they followed him like crazy. And it was just all about him showing them and teaching them the benevolences of Buddha and accepting Buddha, and then basically them all becoming Buddhas themselves. So the story is so complex, deep, and really interesting, and just a fantastic character development type of thing that essentially it a lot of it is washed away just for the plot of God of High School to be what it is. Where it's like I understand that, but it's like you could have tackled it a better way. And it's like Mori Jin being the way that he is okay, but if they were to have made him essentially far more clever than he's perceived, where he's just quick to jump and follow everyone else, or to have like even a trickster type of mindset to where
he didn't have that.
Yeah.
He didn't have that.
But this is just what I would have liked to seen, because of the fact that it was like he went in. I know the story, and then he went into a lot of what that religion is and what they all believed in, like in a lot of the Buddhist stories between the in the Journey to the West story, even the Jade Emperor. The fact that they have that Takara Buddha dude being above all the other gods, no, can't do that. The Jade Emperor is above everyone. Right. That's literally his thing, is that he's above everyone. The Monkey King's punishment and everything comes from the Jade Emperor. And the Buddha is the one who tested the Monkey King, because he was given that order from the Jade Emperor to punish him. And it was like, the Jade Emperor told that Buddha, punish the Monkey King. And so he was like, okay, I'm going to punish him, but at the same time, we need to do this other thing. And then the Monkey King, we can't just kill him, but he would be a perfect bodyguard for the monk that we have that's supposed to go to the West to deliver the Buddhist scriptures. That way other people will know about our religion. So that's why basically it was like all of this was preordained and all this was set into motion to where the Monkey King got as strong as he got to be this perfect bodyguard. And on their way of doing that, they met all of these other people who also preordained to become other followers of the dude. So it's like it's a far more complex story than what that backstory did, which kind of...
I mean, again, he only loosely used those characters.
He really did.
Story. It was loose.
Yeah.
And again, it's for the story. I see what you would like to have happen.
Yeah. It's just that's not something that I hold against God of High School.
Okay.
But it's literally just something that this is just something that I would have preferred to happen, and just like something that I would have been interesting to see, because there is no such thing that does that over the Monkey King. True. No one goes into the Monkey King story like that. Everything is taken out of a certain part, or they use just a certain little story or whatnot. Most of the time where he's incredibly angry, or other times where he basically just meets the monk, or he's just being slighted by the monk and stuff like that. But there's never a thing that goes into the actual complexity of his character. Only thing I've ever seen is the show that's called The Legend of the Sutra. And that show is funny and hilarious and amazing. But even like the crown that he wears, that Mujin Pak is wearing, which is odd. But that's something that the Monkey King is given, that Buddha gave to the monk in order to control him. Right. And it's like, you say a chant, it'll tighten up, and then he has to listen to you. Right. But then it's like halfway through the story, it gets to a point where the monk actually tells him, I'll never use that chant again. And he was like, oh, I'll run away then. And he was like, you can. And he was like, I swear I will. And he was like, all right. And then he like leaves, but then he can also tell and sense when he's in danger. And so then he actually just starts like going crazy, like going like, nah, I'm not going to go back and help him. And it's like, he has been nice to me all this time. And then I was like, nah, this is a trick. And then he goes back and helps.
Part of his lesson to be in that.
It's like all of the stuff, and it's like, it's not, he wasn't forced to do anything. And it's like, he turned into this better person.
But like you said, that's the story of the journey. So
right.
It's supposed to be a transformative journey.
Yeah. And so it was like, it was something to where he changed, and he had a huge amount of character growth, and he had this all stuff. Right. And then it was like, what they showed in the backstory, I was like, it seems rather simple, considering
it was vague and simple.
It was very vague, but that, and from what they showed the Monkey King and what he was, and to what Mori Jin became. And then, like, even when Mori Jin looks back on stuff that the Monkey King did when he didn't even have his memories, and he was like, man, I was cruel. He was like, I was like a bastard. And he was like I did this to someone who's my sworn brother. Like, I was like laughing at his ability. Like, you're not even that strong. And it was like, yeah, but then we had good times together. And it was like, all right, this is weird, And it was
like, he pointed that out.
Yeah,
and it was like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and it was like, But that again is an issue. It's like to just go like this don't make no sense, but then you don't make any sense.
I mean, again, it was. If you look back at what the Monkey King was back then, no one was messing with him.
Right.
For the most part, outside of what happened to him in his past, but once he got past that, it was like he's just here. He had his own realm. He's like, I'm just chilling.
Right.
Like, well, I'm the king of this realm. So.
Yeah, it's just.
So he kind of did whatever.
Right. And like it's just having that be a thing. It's just something like while I was reading it, when they did the backstory the way that they did, I was like, well, this is weird. Because this would have been a primo time to answer a hell of a lot of unanswered questions with who he was as a Monkey King. Right. But they kind of glossed over it real quick.
They didn't. And
then
again, will they go back to that? Possibly.
Possibly.
You know, it's still not over. It looks like it's getting to the climax, but we don't know.
Yeah.
But to your point, I mean, I see. Again, I feel like, and again, you're not holding it against it, but I think the things you've been that you brought up to the table that you don't like is more so writing aspects that could have made the story that much deeper and made it more rich.
Yeah.
And it would have brought out so much more out of the characters and the story itself if it was written a certain way. To me, that's just putting all of the gripes that you have. And I can't fault that, sure. But like any writing, right, when it comes from an individual, well, what is the main objective you're trying to accomplish? If that main objective is accomplished, then your story is complete. Now, how people perceive it is how people perceive it.
Right.
But if you set out for a goal and you write it and you meet that goal, you're done. So we don't know what his goal is. I have no idea. It's not finished. It's not a complete written piece of artwork. Maybe he is on his end, but we haven't seen it yet. So I can't say, well, you know, Dane, you're absolutely right. Like if he would have did all that, you know, but until it's done,
yeah, because you like it.
I think any story like that.
Okay.
I'm
saying you like God of High School.
I do, but I'm trying to be like, is there a story where I didn't like it, but I still watched it to be like, okay, let me finish it to see what it does. No.
See?
maybe mangas, but again, I can't. And maybe there might have been some anime too, but it's sparingly, and I don't remember.
But you're a mega neutral. Everything with you was like, hey, we're gonna ride this out. We're gonna get through this together. Okay. And then it's like afterwards, then you have your opinion.
Yeah.
It's like that's
how you're supposed to.
Yeah, that's how you roll. That's how you roll.
You got opinions before it's even
done. Because I look at stuff and then I go, yo, this reminds me of this, and that came out before. Copying, son of a bitch. And then like everything is ruined. And it's like all of it. But it's what's another issue that I mainly had? The girl, especially after I brought up exactly how much it was interesting of what they did to her as a character, and then when it cut into the second season, and it just completely she's just another over there. She's a villain over there. It's been like, what was it, 17 years? Yeah, it was like, what was it, like 17 years? Yeah, it's like,
was 17? Was that long?
Yeah, it was a long ass time.
Long ass time. It was 17.
Yes, because remember, he was a little kid.
He was a kid, but I don't think 17, because that would put him at 20-something. Because he was older than 5 when they found him. I think it was 10 years. I think only 10 years passed. Maybe 12 to 10. It wasn't 17.
Because they was in high school. That was the thing. It's like they went back to high school because it was the God of High School tournament.
Right.
Yeah.
And the girl was a kid, like a baby almost.
She was a baby.
Yeah, she was a baby.
But she wasn't a senior. I think, in fact, she was like one of the strongest freshmen, right? So
she was the strongest freshman.
So that has to be... All right, so she could have been a 1-year-old. So, all right, so maybe 15. I don't know. I have to read it again. I know it wasn't 17. 17
It was a long ass time.
It was a long time.
It was too long for nothing to happen. There was like all this time has happened and everyone had their own agendas and then nothing happened.
I mean, again, it wasn't about that big fighting anymore.
It wasn't about that.
Right.
But it still was ridiculous because basically when the main dude showed up again, then it was just we just punch our way to solving our problems.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, why wasn't
high school tactics? You talking about that or something else?
No, I'm talking about when Wally finally found Mori Jin again, then it was just, we'll just punch our way to solving all our problems. And then it was like, all right. And then Wally's thing was like, we need to stop Mugen Pak. And then he was like, no, we need to get the girl back first. And it was like, well, we need to stop Mugen Pak. We need to get the girl back first. And then she helped us stop Mugen Pak. That way we all can share in the revenge. Because that's so smart. Not stupid. But
I guess for, Mori Jin, it was like, well, where is she? His whole thing was like, all right, you're here. cool. Where is she? Like we're friends here, right? But y'all mean something to me. So where is she? So that was
then it's like the way how they started painting both of them. They stopped being the three main characters that started up the series, and then it just became about Mori Jin, and then these other strong people who were okay and able to keep up, and then just what all they're doing. Right. The girl had to go away because it was like, well, for some reason, we're done with her. We're done with her. She'll be the catalyst for the bad guys. We gave her all of this amazing stuff that would have been interesting to see her work with. It would have been cool if she was just against them.
And they erased her memory.
Yeah, and they erased her memory. And it was like, gave her just super amnesia for all this time.
Which the dude kind of hinted at that. He was like, if I help you, you won't be who you were.
Yeah, he told her that. Yeah, he told her that.
So, I mean...
And then it was like, and it was just,
told you was gonna happen.
And it was just her going, I remember I got to protect somebody because I couldn't. Who was it? Your hair looks just like that guy. And then it was like what R did to her, and it was like whenever she saw him, it just made her angry and want to attack him and stuff like that. That way it would ensure that she couldn't remember even more. And I was like, yeah, keep piling the shit on. I'm cool with it. And I was like, that's all right. And then it was like, what was the point of doing that? Like, what did that accomplish? You know, and it was like, why? What was his reasoning behind doing that? Because everything that R was doing was to get back at the Jade Emperor and then to help Mujin Pak. But doing that to her and to the guy, that served no purpose outside of just making sure that they stayed on different odds of each other throughout the entire story.
It didn't allow her to help them out. Yeah. But to your point, I don't know the grand scheme of it. I don't know.
Yeah, it was just like a thing.
It wasn't pointed out.
Yeah, it was like a thing that they established, and it was like, well, accepted. It was like, yeah, but it doesn't. Okay, so and just I gotta move on. So I gotta move on. But then it's like they did that to her. They made her the leader of the homeless association. You got all these homeless people following her, and then you got the neo-Nox people using her because she got the body of the Jade Emperor.
Right.
Yeah. So it was like, okay.
Whatever that means.
Yeah. Right. And it was like we got all these established things. It was like, well, the body of the Jade Emperor and the mind of Jade. If you don't have it collectively, then the power is too much for anybody. But and then like they did that to her, and then it was like, okay, just to bring on home a bunch of things that just kind of do not compute. They gave her a kid, and it was like after the time that was spent, the time that she was with him, I was like, well, that kid wouldn't be that, but like, what did she like? Had a moment, a relapse or something, and then they shacked up, and then she was like, "Who are you?" And he was like, "Baby, we just did the dirty. How dare you forget?"
But you find out it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't, and then even that was dumb. I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't your kid, but I kept pretending. And I was like, "But you pretending kept her in the dark." Which led to this, which is something that she definitely didn't want, and then you were even stating that you knew she
didn't see that coming.
Who cared? His selfish ass let that happen because he was like, I just wanted a mommy. He could have went to an adoption agency and got a mommy eventually. But this is dumb. And I was like, this is stupid. Why would a kid even have this type of foresight? Like, why would you have this type of foresight? Like, seriously, as a child. And it was like,
thoughts and what he was told and what was going on.
But even still, like, up until the end, he was like, "Don't listen to him. He's betraying you. He's being evil. Yeah, I know he's evil."
Things that were unfolding, he was like, I guess more of a conscious, but not really unconscious. It was like, I can see you're really hurting because of what's happening now.
Yeah.
And I've been with you for several years now, and you've been protecting me, sure. And I've been, something's up. Don't listen to him. I don't know what fully, but something's up.
Right. But if they would have had it like that. If they would have had it to where it was just, he was just a kid, and then it was like, he was just had, at that moment, came to this catharsis. Like right then and there, he was like, yo, after everything that we've all been through, I'm starting to think, like, this is a nah. And it was like, I was cool with everything else, but right now, I'm feeling iffy about this. But that's not what they did. When they had him die, he sat there and he was like, I knew I was being used. I knew it was manipulating you, and I knew it was doing all that, but it made me happy. And so I'm just glad I got to call you mama, but I'm dead now. Goodbye. Like, just, again, bad writing. And it was like, if it was just small, minute changes, it would have greatly affected how the outlook of so many different situations were even perceived to me. And it's like, just because I caught on, or like just basically they had a character say a certain thing, and it was like, well, this changes a hell of a lot compared to other things. And it was like, so... Just stuff like that was weird. And it was like they did that to her and her character, and I was like completely just shunned her and pushed her off to the side. she stops even becoming a factor. It's just that she's exists, and then I was like, at some point in time, they're gonna have to like establish this elephant in the room is that she's exists. She ain't got no memory, but they need to kick her ass. And it's like, so just let it happen. And I was like, I would prefer it to be sooner rather than later. And it just then it never did it. And then it was the fact that Diwali controlled one part of the world. She controlled one part of the world. You got the purple haired girl. She controlled another part. And then Mugen Park controlled everything else. Because he was the world president. And then it was like, okay.
At that point, later on.
Yeah. But then it was like, okay, why would the purple hair girl have at odds with any of them? And I was like, she no longer is with Nox or anything like that.
No, she's not. I'm not gonna lie. They didn't go into how they all control what they controlled,
right?
And why they almost seem at odds. But again, I think it was more so she knew there was something over with the white hair girl. She wasn't effing with her.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to go over there. As far as what the way, like, I don't know what her issue was with him. I don't know.
And that was pretty sure because like the rest of the Nox are still with him.
That's right.
So
that's right. And she probably had a problem with them. She's like, I don't mess with them. You're okay, but I'll mess with them. But
she probably did, but it's like they also had her contact him later, and then it was like there's no beef. He was still the Jade Emperor. He was still the leader of Nox, and they never had her have an issue with that. It was just that Mori Jin showed up, and now everything was cool. So. And it's like, at what point in time throughout all of this timeline would she have not seen throughout this huge fucking time skip where she would have been like, this is not the Nox that I left, because she was gung-ho a part of Nox as long as it got to her completing her goal. But it's like, she was still a part of the Nox. So it's like, if that all was said and done, and it was like, they're no longer the same Nox that would like persecute her or anything like that. We now know what all went down with you. It's not that big of a deal. Everyone is perceived as a criminal right now. Why the hell are we at odds with each other? They didn't explain that. That was a huge, stupid fuckery thing that was going on, because it was like, considering that Diwali basically had all these plans and notions and whatnot to try to ruin Mugen Park. It's like, why wouldn't him and the purple haired chick go on a combined front to get rid of his ass? They never did. It was like, it was just, man. It was like, because nothing.
I think for the longest, Dwayne was looking for Mori Jin.
He was.
And I think that was his main. He was like, all right, yeah. And
he's looking for, and then it was like,
he could have been made up relations with her, but look, when I find him, that'd be our signal. We can go. The writer didn't do that.
No,
he made it to where it was like, all right, my focus is, I know where she is. There's something going on with her. I don't really know, but she's over there. Whatever. All right, I'm hearing. I've been looking for him for years, because I know if I can find my boy, we can get this going, and everything will go good. I've been finding clones of him for several years.
Yeah, now. And then Mugen Park has been killing them.
Right.
Yeah, and then it was
and
like
now
still
I found another potential. He's like, I don't really know, but he knows that again. He understands, which is almost a fourth wall thing. I'm not the main character.
Yeah,
I have to find the main character so we can get this going.
Which is weird. And it was like that's a weird.
That's
mindset.
My perception of that. That might not be how he
even perceived it. Right. Yeah, but it's just an odd thing to even have someone even be about, considering everything that they had going on. The hate and disdain you could have for Mugen Park going on, and then what happened to the girl that you're in love with and all this other stuff. Even when they brought up what was up with him, when one person talking about the priest chick and the bishop chick, and then like she was like he's the type of person who only keeps a small circle of people close to him. And then it was like, these people that are close to him, he would die for. And then it was like, but everyone else that's outside of that circle, he could give two shits about. And then it was like, and I was like, well, wonderful way to paint him as an asshole. And I was like, how stupid is that? I was like, he was literally given the power of the Jade Emperor, who is someone whose God position is literally to control, and like he's over all humanity. And it was like, that was his position. It's like, he's the Jade Emperor and that's over all humanity. And it was like, so when he was given that, and it was like, while he was speaking with the Jade Emperor, at that point in time, the Jade Emperor was speaking with him, and then it was like, yeah, my mindset and your mindset are different, because I actually care about people. And then it was like, people aren't something that you look at as tools, or it's like, this is just you, dude. And he was like, this is all you. And then he was like, playing him, he was like, well, you're young and you're not wise enough, and then he kept beating him in the, what game were they playing? They were playing, not Shogi.
Go?
What is it, Shogi?
I don't know.
I think it was Shogi. Yeah, and then he just kept, and he was like, checkmate. And he would get mad and knock the board over. And they're like, I thought those were funny between him and the Jade Emperor. I was like, that was always funny to me. But it was like, we've already established that he's not the type, like, he's a person who is capable of opening up his heart. That was his whole thing with being friends with them in the beginning. Yeah. And it was like, because
he only had the one friend.
Yeah.
Because he was closed off.
Yeah.
not to say he didn't care about people. He was like, I'm cool by myself.
Right.
But then as he opened up, he was like, I can see the importance of having people you care about.
And it was like, I've only just cared about my sister. And it was like, now I have someone else that I care about. They're dying. And it was like, now why should I even open up my heart to people? Because eventually they might go away. And then it was like, just the point of friends. And it was like, we're friends. And it was like, okay, I'm going to give this friendship thing another shot.
Right.
But then it was like, you spent more time away from Mori Jin and the girl collectively with other people than you have with them actually being together.
Technically, yeah. Right.
And so then it's like, why would it be that these
I guess it's, I mean, again, right, I don't know why. Sure, you can say it's a conflict of character interest. It's the same thing with Naruto, right? I mean, it's why are you a bad dad?
It's bad writing.
We can chalk that up to bad writing.
It's called bad writing.
That's the only one. The other one I don't give you.
The only one. It's so much. Oh man, I hope I catch this guy. Oh, who am I? I'm a new person. Oh, I guess I gotta fight this new person. Okay, can't catch the guy no more. Continue the story. It's like fuckery. But nah, it was like having that, and basically because that happened and it was established. Hell, even having the bishop chick basically spend like everything about her was just, I want the Jade Emperor to accept me, you know. And it was like, because like she believes wholeheartedly into this religion, which he now is the leader of. Right. And it was like, and then she understands that this is a kind, gentle person, and it was like, I like you, like you're cool. And then it's just like he just won't accept me because everything with him is just strictly the girl and Mori Jin. And then it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And it was like, good, his whole reasoning behind everything is that he was now all for humanity. And it was like, it would have been better if they shown that he was basically just too benevolent, or just basically he accepted everyone. So there was no more for him. There was no more a side of him being like, you know, one person is far more important than the other. If he had a grander aspect to where it was like, I'm trying to save everybody from Mujin Park, not just the people I'm close to. And it's like, I still focus on them, but at the same time, there's so much other people to worry about. And then it's like, if I just focused on you guys, that would leave out so many other people. That could have been a conflict that would have went with the purple hair girl, because the purple hair girl could have been like, I just want to kill Mujin Park. I don't want to deal with you trying to save everybody else. And it's like small things that could have easily fixed and changed just the perception of a different character. Because as soon as they established that he was this closed-off person that only had his heart filled with just these few
Based
people.
Based off what she said.
Yeah.
And then even, well, no, that's the only person that said anything about his personality.
Yeah, and it was like, but as soon as they established that, it was like, basically, it's like, all right, this is now established that you're doing with him. And it was like, you don't need to do this. You didn't have to do this. But when they did it, and it was like, damn it, you established this, and it basically is making his character now far worse off than it was before. There was moments in his character where his major focus and his biggest problem was the fact that he just couldn't see out of an eye. And that changed his depth perception. So that means he had to learn how to fight all over again. And it's like, that was it. And it was like, but now it's just, oh, he can't accept other people. What? And then it was like, but he spent so much time with all these other people. What? And it was like, why would you even say that about him? What? And it was like, man, I just really miss high school. And it's like, I'm like, God, I was the man in high school. High school was so much fun. That shit went crazy. And it's just like, and like how they started to tackle character motivation. Mori Jin's student. I was like, when he was introduced, I was like, cool, new blood. And I was like, it was cool. And then when Mori Jin beat him, and I was like, that is to be expected. And I was like, because he just taught him. And I was like, so that's cool. But him being like, I'm going with the president. And I was like, ugh. And I was like, it's just so stupid. See, the president is the guy that helped heal me because the executive that worked under the president asked the president to heal me. But now that executive was hurt, and so I'm going to try to win the tournament so he can get healed. Hold up. He's an executive. Why isn't he being healed already? He's an executive that's known Mojin Park since the beginning of God High. Like the red-haired dude with the armor. Oh. And then it was like, we've seen him in the beginning. Right. Why isn't he healed? And it was like, what sense would it make to not heal him? That's someone who he basically helped raise to do what he wanted to do. This right here is what's stupid. And it was like, this is all stupid. It was like, wait a minute. So you can basically... then it's like you're perceived as a Generation X, you're brought up to this grand new heights and things like that. You were given this amazing position when leading the other Generation X people, or you decided to become the leader of the other Generation X people. At any point in time in that, did you ask for that executive dude to get healed?
A lot of stuff going on, man.
Yeah, nah. It's like his driving factor behind betraying Maury Jin was all of that. And it's just, the president's a great guy because the guy that got me healed like the president. So that's all I need to see. And it's like, well...
And it's also the world perception of the president. The president is a good guy.
Yeah, can go according to the world. Right. But it's like, if Hitler gave you CPR, it was like, you're choking, and Hitler gave you CPR.
And I didn't know that he was Hitler.
And even still, it was
only
like...
you are the only person, a friend that I just met, tells me, hey man, he's a bad person.
Like, that's Hitler. And then you're like, but he saved my life. It's Hitler.
I mean, but where I live, he's not Hitler.
Yeah, right.
Like, he's Hitler, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Like, we call it a positive thing. And then it's like, okay, let me tell you about Auschwitz. And then it was like, what's that?
And then you tell me, I'm like, well, no, according to the president and what we've been told,
right?
Everyone, Auschwitz actually went like this.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well, it's only you complaining about that. So who looks crazy now?
Right.
That is second season.
And that's just dumb. That's really dumb. It's just so dumb. Simply because of the fact that they had other people and outside forces going. President's evil. And it was like there was multiple people going. That president's back. They weren't there, but it was like, but we also, they also had the added aspect of basically the mistreatment of borrow power people. They had the people who, like, when the God of High School tournament was over. Yeah, the non-borrow power people. When the God of High School tournament was over with, and then Maury Jin was fighting whoever his student name is, when they were fighting in the little crevice or whatnot, you had the non-borrow power people complaining and like backing up Maury Jin because they was like, yeah, he the man. He's showing that you can get by without even using borrowed power. Right. Yeah, and it was like we had them arguing against the president, and it was like, okay, the president's a great guy. And it was like, well, the president is basically singling out one group of people over another. You purposely see this, and because you have a borrowed power to you, it's nothing to complain about because the world is in your favor. Like you are not. You're not the other group that's complaining, but it's like
black people in America,
right? So it's like, so you don't have to sit there and go, well, and it's like to you, it's like he's an all right guy. I like the cut of this dude's chip, but it's like, okay, but you personally see that there is a problem, and it's like we actually have clear cut evidence in front of you. There is a problem.
What if the writing he did that for that exact purpose?
I mean that is.
Then at that point, it's valid.
That is a case. That is a very valid case, and it's like because that's what he made the writing do anyway, and it's like that's what he did.
Yeah, that's true. But it came out that way. So clearly, it had to be purposeful.
Right, and then but even still, and it's like, and then in the actions of what the president was doing, and then later on when they had Maury Jin's student basically now being in the thick of it, and then he getting to see firsthand exactly the lengths that the president is going to in order to achieve his dream, and it was like, okay, then he started questioning it. And then everyone basically was telling him, you don't need to question it because the president's the only one who's accepted us. Then it was like, there was never an us to accept in the beginning. And it was like, the Generation X just happened. And it was like, you guys weren't persecuted for being Generation X. You just started existing. And it was like, you were giving nothing but special treatment at all this point in time. And it was like, but you, just that the president gave you a special purpose. Like, he told you that you're better than everyone else. Of course you would want this person who makes you or perceives you to be golden among the sullied to be like, oh yeah, I follow this guy. This is who I fucks with because I'm amazing in his eyes. And it's like, but everybody else is like, I'm just a kid. I don't want to be just a kid. It was like, but they had that aspect, and again, it was very Hitlery. It was like very Hitlery. But it was a contradiction towards what they established with Mujin Pak as time went on, because they kept fluctuating exactly how he was trying to get everything going. In the beginning of the second season, it was just humanity overall. Then halfway through, it was like Generation X is the new evolved form of humanity that'll be better than everything else. Then it got to the point where he just is not perceiving it to where, humanity just needs to evolve, period, in order to be compared to the gods, because we'll always be lesser than the gods, and that's just something that I just really, really don't like. And I just want and I can see that the Generation X is going to be that next step in the evolution, and I'm trying to hurry that crap along. That was what Ultron was trying to do on the Avengers. Like, humanity needs to evolve, so I gotta kill them in order to make them evolve. And it was like, okay, and it was like, yeah, there's beauty in this destruction. Oh my God, like, it's just
it's beauty in its destruction.
There's beauty in this destruction. There's a method to my madness.
Again, I mean, that's just you being able to compare things to other things.
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying like the wishy-washiness of him basically stating one thing at one point in time.
Well, it doesn't seem wishy-washy. I think maybe you perceive it wishy-washy, but to me, it's evolving what you believed in. Like you said, he never stopped believing in humans. That was what he believed in. It started out humans, then he's like, all right, we can be better, Generation X. But there's still something missing. Now let's just evolve everybody all together. Like, this got to be redone because I have the ultimate God powers. I can make this happen now. His point of what he was trying to do never changed. His main focal point was they need to be better because we are better. That's what I believe. That point never lost. It never got away from him. It's just how he went about doing it, and we as viewers didn't like it.
See, but
his point never changed.
See, it wasn't the matter of the point never changing. It's simply because how he went about the different actions towards reaching the goals as he went in establishing the different goals. Mm-hmm. That's the problem with me. It's like simply because
that's just again like this whole conversation is just opinion at this point.
Yeah, but it's simply because just simply over the fact that he had a clear plan of one way. And then when something else was brought up, then he changed that plan to another way. But what he changed his plan into basically contradicted what I was already given previously. I was given that he cared this way. And then when he got a new plan, he now contradicts that. And it's like, granted that he is evil. And granted that I'm not supposed to like him and like the stuff that he's doing, I can clearly see is bad. I'm supposed to go, this is bad.
I think you believe that he's contradicting himself where I think it's more of a change.
No, I'm saying in the sense of him at first being like human above all, and then him being like it's okay to kill humans to help humans. Then going, I can use the God power that I've already from the beginning have sat there and stated that I want to basically supersede and go over. And it was like his whole driving force before he even got the Buddha's power was just evolving humans to that point where no God could even tackle them. A perfect mixture of borrowed power, martial arts and all that stuff, and just a genetic formula to where you're already superior to gods just coming out the womb. But it's like at the notion of that and then going, okay, this is what we're striving for, using human ingenuity doing that, then going, I'm going to use the powers of the gods that I have so far have been shunning all this time. Like all this time I've been seeing, like, if you ain't got borrowed power, you're gross, you're nothing. And then it's like, if you're not using the power of the gods to make yourself stronger, then whatever with you. But it's like, humans need to be stronger than the gods, and what's wrong with using the gods to make ourselves stronger than everything like that? And then going towards, okay, I'm going to straight up become a god. Something that I have been profaning and detesting. Using their powers is one thing, but becoming them is another thing, because that's literally what's his gripe with the Monkey King. And it's like, how dare you gods, stand among these humans and then judge us accordingly. And it was like, you should not represent humans. Humans should represent humans. Right. And then he himself become a god that then judges humans accordingly. That's the issue. And it's like, it's the fact that basically they were so quick to change his mindset. It wasn't quick. It was all of it was a slow burn. But like, it's just when they had the decisiveness. When they had those decisive moments of him changing his outlook or exactly what all his goal was going to be, well, not the goal of what he was going to do in order to achieve his goal, and like as that was changing, that was something that I found fault with, because it was like it seemed like he was so determined for this one thing, and then it was like, yes, granted, another opportunity came to him, and then it was like he can approach that opportunity, but it wasn't in a way that would made you either sympathetic to what he wanted, which in the beginning was like, yo. Granted, it was like what he did was a dick move, but it's like I understand what he was talking about. But then it was like as you keep having him evolve and gain like new knowledge and newfound powers and new abilities and different things like that was set in front of him, he still didn't have that same end goal or that approach towards the end goal where it was like you could still be sympathetic towards this, and it was like his point is still valid. Well, it was like, well, now he's contradicting that point, and then it was like, so because of that, and it was like, okay. I was already perceived to think of him as this strong-minded person who was devout in his dedication to what he had going on. And it's like, but just because I'm giving, I'm just giving a little bit more power. So it's okay to bend the rules of what I want to be done a little bit more. And it was like, well, now I'm giving a little bit more power. So I could bend it a little bit more. And I just,
to me, that's one of the most humanistic things.
That's a very human thing.
And is he not human?
Yeah, I mean that's a very human. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's a fact. And it's like that is a humanistic thing. But it's just I'm saying looking upon him as a character, and it was like I was only given what I was given about him when he betrayed Mori Jin and everyone like that. So it was like I already perceived him to be what I perceived him. When they had him stay what he said about what his goal was and what all he was working towards, this was all I was given about Mugen Park. And it was like for the longest, all we known is that this dude was just this president of this company that got a high school tournament. And so it was like, okay, this is all that we were given about him. I am led to believe that what he's trying to do and what he's reaching, this is it. This is it. But it's the fact that he was so astute into just being defiant over the gods, which is something that I found was like a strong point of his character. And then to get to where it is now, to where it was like now he himself has become a god, rather than him finding an alternative way of tackling this. And it's like
that's how you feel. I can't.
Yeah.
But the only thing I will say is he made that god bend to his will.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, to me, that is like for now, of course, without a doubt. But he did that. Not any god, the god. He made that god say, I'm going to use you for what I want to do. But that's literally his character throughout the whole thing. I have tools. I'm presented with certain things. I will do what I want to do. I will do what I want to do, and whatever the situation is, I'm going to make it bend to my will to make it happen how I want it to happen. It's going to fit my overall goal purpose, which I haven't let go of. To me, like I said, I get what you're saying. I can't argue that because it's opinion. I guess, me going against that opinion would be, well, he never changed his goal, and the whole time, sure, I guess going against using ball power. Now he is because he's taking control of a god, but it's not something he strives to do, but also he literally made a god bend to his will. So now he's using, again, as he's always done, I'm using the tools, the new things around me to further my ideals, what I've been trying to do. Can't fault the guy. He hasn't changed for me. Everything he's done, I can see that happen. He hasn't changed anything. I presented with new tools. All right, yeah, I didn't want to do that at first, but hell, the world has changed around me. Let me use what I have now that's presented to me to make the best decision. Let me bend into my will. Damn, I'm in this position. I was trying to make sure that the Supreme God didn't come back to life. He's here now. You know what? He's giving me a choice. He's trying to take over my body. F that. I'm going to take him, and I'm going to use him, and I'm bending him to my will. All right, I'm in this predicament now. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to restart all this. He hasn't changed. He's simply presented with new tools. Things around him have changed, and he's adapted. Human. So to me, everything he's done is like, that's him. Sure, could he have done it different ways? Without a doubt. Yeah. Could he be written different ways? Without a doubt.
It's simply because of the fact that his end goal is to make humanity better, to be compared to the gods. But his approach from the beginning to now, simply because he changed the approach with the tools that he was given, in the sense of it being, well, I'm gonna help humanity become better than the gods, to now getting to a point where it's like, well, I need to kill off humanity to become better than the gods. That's my issue.
Not all of them.
This is like I'm
percentage.
Yeah, there's like
the ones that survive will clearly have the genetic genomes
to be better.
Right.
And it's like that's what I have a problem with. Simply because his mindset was, I love humans, so it's okay to kill. It's like this.
Again, you're making his ideals minuscule and saying, all right.
No, not the ideals. Just simply the actions from what was showcased in the beginning of season 2.
He never said that he wouldn't kill any humans. Let's say
No,
he never said that. So
he never said it. But it was just
an assumption.
No. I didn't. It's not a matter of him saying that he didn't say he was going to kill humans. Okay. But his approach towards his end goal. It was simply because he was given new tools to reach his goal and whatnot. But everything else prior to before he became the god was just simply Generation X. When the Generation X comes, they're going to be superior than everybody. And then he got the god power, and now it was like, well, I just need to kill off people, and then those who survive will then be able to advance and become further humans. Which, in itself, is just, that's opposite from what he had going with the Generation X. He wanted people to continue to produce, to make more kids, because they were going to be the Generation X.
Right.
So now
you can see, but even then, you can see the slow transition into I only care about Generation X.
Yeah.
From before, like you said before, I want all humanity to be better. But it's the ideal is evolving, as I kept saying. It's more so like, yeah, I care about...
I want a car, then you be like, ooh, but there's a shinier car.
No, it's not that. It's just simply the fact of, like, basically, logically, if you already know and you are perceiving and you're saying that the Generation X is going to be born because of A, B, and C, A, B, and C are already in place. We now have people who use borrowed powers more than everything. That's not what commonly used thing. People are
50-50.
getting... Yeah, and it's like, but it like, and people, 50-50.
Probably not even that much, but sure.
And people are getting stronger every day. The amount of people into what Generation X was when it was just a notion to him is now basically quadruple. Because now I actually, now I actually have people that are proof that Generation X exists. And these are basically grown kids. It was like, I haven't even gotten everyone around the world to see if whether or not they're part of Generation X. I just have what I have right now that are showcasing that, yes, they are part of Generation X.
They just happen to be the Generation X that is working. Because you had a lot of other Generation X that were failures.
Yeah.
Exactly. So even then, you got to take out the equation of, well, let's say, let's say you got 100% of the Generation X that you know out of the population. Hell, probably only 50 of them are operational.
Right. But it's like, but still... killing everyone and then trying to acquire the Generation X out of that. And it's like, even with the mindset of going that only the superior will be the ones that live, we still haven't fixed the problem of what makes sure that Generation X is even valid. And it's like, that's still a numbers game. Out of all of these people who are born, only this many people are going to become Generation X. Killing a bunch of people right now is not going to fix that problem.
And I think so because, well, if the borrowed power users who are left behind will have that genome, as well as we don't know what he's going to do to those people. He's a supreme God. He can probably change whatever's going on with them. He hasn't stated yet. Again, we're talking about dragons.
Right.
But, right.
And it's like, it's just that. It's just simply because what we were given and what he was saying to achieve his goal was basically a numbers game. And then right now he's depleting those numbers. Okay. That's my major issue.
Again, if you're looking at it that way, I can't.
Yeah, that's straight up like that's my main gripe with what they have going on with him. Yeah, and so like it's just an odd take for his character for me in doing that. And it was like his greed and everything he's got going on. It's like, yeah, it's been him all day long, but the changing in the couldn't think of the word. It was like. Gotta use it, I guess. It was like I wasn't even gonna say approach, but sure. It was like, it's the change in his approach towards the goal, just from what they were stipulating in the beginning of season 2 to what it is now. That's just, it was like, to me, it's just an odd little thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to think. Did we cover everything?
I like to think so. This is very long. I didn't think you were going to be this long. I didn't want to be this long, but it's almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Is there something you're missing?
Babies get good. And that's what you're supposed to do. The longer the better.
You talked a lot about season 1 and how the transition to season 2, and then you also talked a bit about what's current in season 2, not so much what happened in the beginning.
In the beginning,
I don't know if there's anything that's
in the beginning.
It's a lot of establishing.
Yeah, and it was such a non-factor for me. The introduction of his sister, them trying to establish different characters and the powers and things like that, simply because of the fact where it was like the main character was progressing so fast, and we're already bringing up a bunch of these new people. To have these people even be a factor for the main character was already going to be a MacGuffin to me. Well, not even a MacGuffin, because that's the wrong terminology. It was just going to be a whatever to me. So when they introduced the Generation X, and I was like, okay, we're having these kids who are basically, they jumped one of the original 6 that is now not the 6 anymore. Right. And it's like they jumped them, and then they still didn't beat them.
Right.
And then it was just like, we proven that they're getting strong, and it's compared to who, and it was like, and then again,
regular power users.
Yeah, right. And then it was like, again, because there's a lack of people to contend with the main group of people. there's nothing to even hint at as where it's like you can spread this out, or like there will be more of a challenge for them to fight or anything like that. And it's like essentially you just have Mugen Pak, the main three, and then whoever they classified as the six. Okay. And it's like those are the only people who or the executives. Yeah. The executives who were there before they started adding on people to be executives. Yeah. And it's just like, but as the fighting and everything progressed, it was just basically just the beginning of the second season is literally just you're waiting to find out who's Mori Jin. Like I don't care about what they're going on, what the guy at high school think is, who the hell this crippled chick is. And it was like who her brother is. Why does she has the headband? And it was like cause she know him. And it was like just get it over with. And it was like who the hell is Mori Jin? There's a clone. There's and it was like who is Mori Jin? It was like it was Mori Dan. Who really? And it was like who really? You can call me Mori Dan or Mori Jin. You can call me Piccolo or Nail or Kami. I don't care. But I'm the Namekian who is known as Piccolo. Right. And then another Namekian who has long since forgotten his name. Like, whatever, Nail. Yeah, but the beginning of season 2 was such a wash of everything. Because it was just, as soon as you establish who Mori Jin was, then it was like, well, he's not strong enough to do anything. Yeah. And then it was just now, so it's a waiting game. And it's just like, you're not strong enough to do anything. Exactly when will you be strong enough to do anything? It was like, now I'm waiting for you to get to full strength.
I mean, sure, you're glossing over all that, right? But I think I enjoyed him dialing into what his grandfather was actually teaching him and learning how the whole recoilless kicks and stuff. Learning like, all right, I've been exerting more energy than I need to be effective in my martial arts style. I like that.
Yeah, that was cool in order to have him grow fighting wise. Because
just growth. I enjoyed that.
It was like that was cool. But
it added another layer to the fighting. I mean, granted, it just made Taekwondo, the best thing ever.
Like just the best thing ever.
But I enjoyed okay.
I mean that's how it's gonna end. He's gonna get 100%. He's gonna get his borrowed power. It's gonna be his grandpa. He gonna kick.
That's gonna be
gonna go die.
He's not gonna do that.
And then he's already one of the mythical god things, so he's not gonna get a borrowed power.
Probably gonna be his grandpa. Hey, it's gonna be his grandpa. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, you know what? If you call it like that and it happens, I'm like, well, Ed knew it was gonna happen.
That was weird.
I guess he's more of a fan than I am. I thought I really liked this show, and clearly I don't.
I can see the future. Did I not tell you?
So
it's like that'd be whack.
To your point, the opening part for the first half was just growth. Second half is backstory stuff. I don't know. It's just figuring out what's I guess like you said, the segment Ragnarok for the most part.
Even the explanation of this is something that's just a problem with all of it is like and how they do their fights. All their fights, no one fights at 100%. They never have and they never will. No one ever goes into a fight and they're just like
off the jump 100%.
Off jump 100%.
Nothing's written like that.
Yeah, they are.
What?
It's like Dragon Ball Z. They get sensu beans all the time, and everyone's like, "You're at 100%."
But you saying start off at
that's what
Frieza didn't start off at
That's what I said.
Okay, you talking about that? Like, okay, no, not like that. I'm talking about like
no one ever gets to the point where they're at 100%.
No, like where essentially I fight you and you fight me, and there hasn't been any conflicting things that have weakened me or anything conflicting that has weakened you before we actually come to this confrontation. And it's like we've been building up that we're about to fight. But now other things have made it to where when we fight, there's conflicting. They're like, you're now a little bit weaker, I'm now a little bit weaker. When Mori Jin fought the blue-haired dude, he had to fight, the magician dude, like all these other things. And he was making the Nephilim things come and fight other people.
That's season 1.
That's season 1. But I'm saying, like, in general, when Mori Jin fought the purple-haired chick, when the planet was exploding, her power was sealed. He couldn't use, what was it? He couldn't use some of his power and everything, so then they just was doing they were just doing straight up Taekwondo. Yeah. But it's like, realistically, you're still not at 100%. And it was like, there are things hindering you right now. And it's like, you might like, there's an epic fight and whatnot, but it's like,
But no one's fought at me. I mean, what about when he fought Satan?
When he fought Satan, he was weak. Like, he's been climbing up the ranks in order to fight.
But at that point, he was at his strongest he's been before. Because he said, like...
He was at his strongest he's been before, but also, we haven't seen him at his strongest while he was rested and, like, he was fine.
So you saying just come up straight to a fight, like, no, there was nothing that I didn't have to fight no one before I fought you, so we could just fight.
Yeah, so I was like, you can actually sit there and go, okay, this is them at their peak. But it's like, there was something that happened to where it was like, okay, they're slightly tired. They've already fought. Like, something has been going on. Like, Mori Jin has been fighting his way up the damn skyscraper up until that point. Yeah, so it was like he was constantly in battle, and then he fought Satan, and then he still won. But it was like, okay, how would that fight have been if he wasn't tired or exhausted from constantly fighting through the skyscraper or anything like that? It's just, they're factors. It's like, no matter what, out of every fight that happens, there's some type of factor where it was like, okay.
At this point, for me, it was only
One Piece.
Right. No, it doesn't.
And the majority of the battles, Luffy is fighting other people. Like Rob was saying. That man
he fought a whole bunch of people.
Big Mom, all of that. Fort Katakuri fought a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
That's the last majority of One
One Piece
Piece.
has a lot of problems. One Piece isn't perfect to me. One Piece has a lot of fucking problems.
But I was going to say, the only thing we get to say whether or not they were 100 or whatever the case may be, I think that's left up to the author, the writer at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure, we can factor in and say he did climb the tower, which is a fact before he got there. But we can't say without a shadow of a doubt 100% whether or not Mori was like complete, he was really tired. We don't know.
Right, we don't know. But again, this is also a series where people are down and out, and then they jump back up, and then they're stronger than they were before they got knocked down. And so I'm just saying, like, that is a clear issue with this series, is that there's never a defining, okay,
he's clearly strong.
Not even a stronger thing, but just like, okay, these two, like, there's nothing hindering essentially what the tournament was in the beginning. Okay. It's like you fight, me fight. Okay. There's nothing else that has hindered me and you going at it. So when we go at it, this is both of us at our peak going at it. Gotcha. And one's going to be the winner, one's going to be the loser. Clearly because of skill, fighting powers, whatever. But it's like that is completely given away, and now it's just you've been through this, and this. Yeah. Somehow you haven't passed out from exhaustion.
I would say again, that changed right in the middle of the first season. Actually, a little bit before the first season, because even then, like once.
I'm saying that's an issue for the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a problem for the whole series.
Well, I guess I can't say it's a problem if the whole series never even established that from the jump.
Yeah, it never established
because it's something that you would like to see that the story never did, but you can't. Yeah. You can't fault something for something it never established.
It never established it because the series doesn't need to, simply because of the fact that they constantly have that jump back up thing. Yeah.
I mean, again, that's how you want to take it, sure.
Yeah, I mean, how many times does he do the whole, the pressure point thing?
Right.
And then it's like, the recoil of my body is ridiculous. Right. But then he keeps fighting. And then it's like, I'm supposed to be, I was told when he first started doing this, when he does it at that level, you don't get back up again. But then it was like
he is a god.
Yeah. So it's like, okay. It's like, I guess he can just do it all he wants. It was like what Dragon Ball Z did it with Goku. It was like King Kai told him, you can't go past ×3 Kamehameha. He did ×4. His body shut. Yeah, Kaioken. And then it was like his body shut down. And the muscles and everything just screaming. And he was like, I can't move. And then Vegeta starts squeezing. And then it's like, I can't move. And it was like, yeah, and it was like there was a clear fault in that. And it was like, but we still had Goku jump up and go, I'm going to try to do a spirit bomb. It's like, you just said you couldn't move. And I was like, what are you raising your hands in the middle of the field for? I hope he doesn't see me. Gather this energy. What the fuck? Stupid Kakarot. Standing there like a carrot. Trying to grow with photosynthesis. Not on my watch. It just, like, that is just, that's always been something I looked at, and I was like, this is kind of whack. It was always weird to me, and then it was like they would gauge powers accordingly and whatnot. And I was, at least with DBZ, they had senzu beans as an excuse. Take a senzu bean. All right, we're now both, bam, you're fine, you're good.
Technically, even that's incorrect.
Because then the person that they're fighting, the only person that ever got senzu bean.
I wouldn't even say that. Is that, well, the senzu bean changed. Because that's not what the
senzu bean originally.
Even that is some.
I was gonna say it had to become that in order to help that part out. That's what it was. It was like at first it was just you were full for 3 days.
Right. That's all.
And then it was like when they gave it to Goku because he eats so much, he was like, oh, that was good for a day, I guess. So like Yajirobe ate a whole handful and he just blew it up. Right. But it's like it wasn't even a healing thing. Then it just became like, oh, like Yamcha had a freaking hole in his chest, and they gave him a senzu bean. He was fine. He was fine.
That's what they made it.
Oh my God, guys, those are intros. Yamcha, yeah, all right. Hey, got rid of my tattoo. This thing is great. Heals all wounds. It's a big old MacGuffin. It was like, got a problem, senzu bean. Even and then like they essentially the only character that they had that well when they brought in Boo, it was like it was not necessary for Boo because his healing did just that. Even with Cell, they was like, yeah, you still give him a senzu bean. And it was like he still can get exhausted. He still can be tired. And it was like he can just regenerate. Right. But it's much like with Piccolo. It takes something out of him because that's where it comes from. With Boo, it was just straight up. This fool just comes back to start. Yeah. So it was like even when he fought Gotenks, and it was like, I'm gonna cut you up into pieces. I'm gonna cut you up in the entire pieces. And he just had big old whelps all over his face, and he was just all bloated, like messed up. And then he changed from a Super Saiyan 3. And then Boo looked up, started smiling, and then he healed. Right. And it was like, all right, he's back to start. It was like, okay. But yeah, they got high school just. Hey, here we are. All right, better do this. I was like, oh man, my arm is still tired because I fought that one guy, but I'm gonna still keep pushing. I'm gonna use my arm. Oh, I thought it was tired from the other guy. And I was like, he hit me in the face. Oh no! That takes away 3,000 of my life points. I got you now, Kaiba.
So whatever you're saying, when people have fought 100%.
Have fought 100%?
Yeah.
Well, essentially, Naruto's done it. Naruto does it a lot. Let's see. Anything that kind of introduces.
Yeah, Naruto did do it a few times.
Yeah, Naruto did it, but Naruto again, they introduced a factor that allowed that to happen. They gave people healers, so they gave Ninja Squad someone who can heal. Therefore, when people fought, there was someone that could heal them back to where they were. And then even still.
Well, healers didn't give you chakra.
They didn't give you chakra, but Naruto was someone who had unlimited chakra. I mean, so
I think you talk about the series. You talk about the person. So Naruto's fought people at 100, and he's been at 100.
Hell, his chakra heals himself. So.
Yeah, that's true.
The 3 tails are burning him. No, 4 tails. Yeah, he's burning him and healing him at the same time. It's taking away his life force. Does it mean he's gonna die?
He gotta stop. No, I'm not gonna say that during this podcast. I'll remember. Oh, life force thing is stupid. Every time I go into a different gear, 4th gear.
Right, it was like I'm losing my life force. No, you're not. Yeah, no, you're not.
There's
another problem with One Piece because I hated that when they did it with 2nd gear, and he was like, even as long as I become king of the pirates, I don't care how much of my life force is taken away. Yeah. Then I was like, okay. And I was like, what? It was like, this dude does 3rd gear like he's eating bubble gum. And I was like, what? Like, why wouldn't your base thing just get stronger? Nah, it's the gears. It was like, that's because that's Japan and their transformation issue. Like, they desperately need characters to transform every time, otherwise.
Cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And it was like, yeah, that's cool.
I'm still waiting on the anime from Power Rangers, but that's not the podcast. Because once we get that,
Power Rangers anime,
that would be dope. That would be nice.
Cool. Go Green Ranger. I would like to start from the first. I would want to start from Mighty Morphin.
Yeah, I would too, but
But you would just like a new Power Rangers.
Or just do it from the very beginning. The whole Zordon and what they were.
That would be cool.
But don't get wrong. It should. I want my long as that's all I really care about.
Well, I guess if they did Zordon and things like that, if they were to do Zordon like that, then it would make sense to do Mighty Morphin.
Right.
But it's like I still want Tommy, like because there's no White Ranger.
Yeah,
there's no White Ranger without Tommy.
I get it. I don't care about the Green Ranger. Don't get me wrong. He did some amazing things. I mean, if they animate the part when he opens up the door.
Oh, and he just beats the hell out of them inside their own Zord. Yeah.
Door behind us or something? How you get in here?
And it was like, even in Japan, no Power Ranger prior has ever done that. So it was like, did he get inside? He does have a power coin. And then they just said slow fall.
That man was obvious of terror.
There's descent.
But so that's not the podcast for this.
Okay, so. Yeah, I really can't think of anything else to say about God of High School. I think got it all out of my system.
List 2 things you like about it.
List 2 things I like about it.
2 things. And on a positive note, all this negativity.
Let's see.
For 2 hours.
Let's see. I like love interest. Maury Jen's love interest is the little blonde chick who can't fight. So that's
her. Okay, really?
Yeah,
you really count her?
No, that's why I said she doesn't matter. But it's like that's all that they've perceived as a love interest.
Wait, did she die? She's not dead.
Yeah,
She's not dead.
Peach.
Yeah. She don't matter. So that's not something.
Alright, so you come on, you can think of two.
Let's see.
I'm trying to be dramatic.
Not really.
That's
Not
the
really.
light-skinned.
I mean, like I said, I'll stipulate it again. Like honestly, like it's probably gonna be the name of this podcast, but I consider it a lot of style and no substance. And a lot of the fights that happen are cool. I'll give it that.
I'll take that as a one.
Some of them are cool. If anything, I would like to see in the end. It's gonna be a while before they show it, but I would like to see his fight against Pandora, the purple hair chick.
Of course, yeah.
I would love to see that in anime. And it was like, yeah, that's gonna be cool.
The anime is doing weird stuff with their fights. Certain fights are doing very well with animation. It looks very stylized. They're capturing motion the right way, without a doubt. But there's certain moments I'm like, all right, y'all are doing weird stuff as to not trying to animate this and stop playing with me. I know it's a lot of work.
Stop playing with me.
Do the work.
I mean, Kevin gonna pop up like Tommy.
Stop playing with me.
Meet him up in the studio.
They're gonna be in the studio.
They gonna go, what the?
He's just go.
I've already done it once.
He's just.
That's a callback to the guy who burned down the.
That's not
was me.
People die, dude. That's not cool.
If you don't do it right, those must suffer. I love anime.
Oh my god.
I love anime.
It's all right. He's black, so this is completely ignorant.
Jokes.
I mean, I'm not apologizing for it. It's funny.
Style.
That place is called Kyoto Animation. I'm pretty sure if we were talking to the people who I can't stand that like anime, they would be like, "Oh, that's just too far. You went too far. They're not making any more canon because of that." I don't watch it. That's not what I watch.
Right. All right, but like I said, the fights.
Some of the fights I would like to see animated.
Stop playing with me.
If anything, this is something that I was like, it's probably gonna be the thing that's gonna make No Police a hell of a lot more popular than God of High School. And but it's like God of High School, when they do it, it's funny. Their comedy is funny, but No Police has a perfect way of balancing the comedy in between the action. Because there's so many times when they're doing crazy fights and whatnot, and then they'll just be joking. And it's like the jokes that they put in are really funny. While with God of High School, they try to stick with their serious a lot.
So you start off with a comedy, but then you retracted it, so you're still at one.
No, I mean I do like the
you
comedy.
liked it, but then you was like, they don't really do it right.
No. I'm saying they don't do it right.
Comparison, like, cause he comparing it, cause he was like, when No Bleach, they do it.
Right.
Like they can have the comedy within the action. When I can understand, like with God of High School, it's like the comedy was like afterwards.
Yeah,
like they did the tournament on the island, and then afterwards they was like, wait, can you do the acupuncture like Maury Jen? And he was like, oh no. And then it showed him small. And let me try out. And they was like, I think you should just stay over there. Right. He was just poking the air.
And it's like that. And like those moments are funny. If anything, I was sad when I found out that they don't do one of my favorite jokes. Like, cause when I reread God of High School, and I was like,
are you talking about the anime?
Yeah, I was like literally my favorite joke is when the granddad was in the house, and then like they asked Maury Jen, and they was like, "Where's your grandfather?" And then he was like, "Oh, we live over there." He's like, "We got a red roof," and then it was like, he's just like down the street. He's like, "Yeah, just down the street." And he was like, "What's the big deal?" Like, I don't understand why you guys are acting like he's a big old secret. And everyone else is like, we know how dangerous this dude is. And they were talking about like he ain't gonna crack or nothing. He was like, no, he lived down the street. Lives in a red house. He was like, probably waiting for me to come home. And then they had like a giant SWAT team raid him. And then they threw in tear gas and everything. And then like everyone broke through the windows and came to the door. And they was like, get on the ground. And he was at a table. I'm an old man. And then he just showed him Chibi. And he said, oh, I'm an old man. He was shaking. And then they was like, it's just an old man. And then I think we got the wrong house. And they was like, what is this? And he said, oh, who is that? And then, what do you want? And then it was like, yeah, call headquarters. It was like, yeah, I think y'all made a mistake. And then it was like, this is not the guy.
Did he have a blanket on?
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm an old man. And what are you doing? And it just like, and that was hilarious. That was like, that's my favorite joke out of everything in God High School. But he was just like, I'm an old man. And it was like, I think we got the wrong house. And it was like, sir, we are so sorry. And then it was like, yeah, headquarters. And you see him get big behind him. And it's just, oh my God. And then it was like, well, we found him. And then Mortier was like, yeah, that was my granddad. And then he was like, hey, and he was like talking to him. And he was like, you remember the family motto? He was like, yep. He was like, all right then. And then he was like, I got nothing to worry about. Yeah, and I was like, I like that.
Because it's like we do what we want.
Yeah. And it was like I do enjoy their comedy. Okay. That is something that I do enjoy when they did their comedy. There's a lot of lighthearted, funny moments that weren't really funny to me in kind of high school. It's just seeing, especially since I read Noblesse first, I saw how they balanced it a hell of a lot better. Yeah, because Noblesse does shit that's just gut busting funny, and it's like in between while like terrible shit is going on. One of the dumbest jokes is when the main dude finally learns how to open the front door. It's just stupid. It's like he learned how to open the front door. People be in the hospital. What was it when he learned how to take out peel a banana?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like he learned. He learned. Like,
no. They was in the hospital and he just had a banana. Yeah. And then they was like, oh, you must be saying that for later. Like the kid that was in the hospital saying that, and then it was like it showed Frankenstein's servant. He was like, master just doesn't know how to open a banana. So he's just keeping it right there, and he's just showing looking out the window.
And it's just they do small, simple, funny stuff outside of the action, and then even while they're doing action, they'll have the main character say hilarious stuff or funny stuff and in between like that, and it's just it'd be a nice little blend. Okay. Yeah. But for God High School, like when they get funny, even like especially when they do the chibi characters and whatnot, and it's like those I find incredibly hilarious. So certain fights I couldn't really tell you. Anyone, I can, because there's a lot, but like certain fights, and then the comedy, and it's like that's what I like in God of High School.
Okay. Cool. I know, that's it. I got you. That's
because that story's a piece of shit.
It's
like just a piece of shit. My whole thing's looking for my grandpa. Got stabbed. Well, guess I better start a new family. You got Freddie B. Goddamn Woody mindset. We can go to a new kid.
You just gotta have an anchor. You got the anchor.
Got Freddie
Everybody
B.
gone.
My grandpa's dead and I don't know why. But I'm gonna live in this new world order.
You go too long with that parent, Randy Moon will
find you. Adopted daughter.
He will find you and he will get results.
Taekwondo is the greatest martial art. Oh, you got friend in me. Did he even teach it to the sister?
I don't know.
He didn't, did he?
She was crippled.
Right.
Recordless kick, niggas just.
But I mean, she was running track. She had
like what, a minute? That
no,
was her
because
time?
remember he kept. I think at one point, right when she found out who he was and he explained who he was, I think she kept saying she was going to train to be like better than him or something like that.
Yeah, but during that time she was going through chemo. When he left, she was still in the hospital, and then I was like, yeah, she was going through chemo, and he was like, yeah, they still need to get the nanotechnology in order to heal her. Right. And then right after that,
I'm just saying, like, I think.
Yeah, but she's always been training and fighting, and her thing has always been.
Her whole thing was she was focused on borrowed power. Her whole like, hey,
yeah, I don't think
she had one of the strong niggas.
I don't know what she knows, to be honest with you. I don't think he taught her.
Yeah.
But like you said, to his point, she was crippled. So.
Still did some hand stuff.
she can
hand. Yeah, I know. But he got the shotgun gun, so he can copy anything he sees.
She got like, what, 1-2 kicks in her that she done.
You don't need no kicks. Just hey, stand right here, stand right there, and you just go ham with the hands. That's all you need. Just this space. It's like anyone getting your space, you destroy them, girl. You my sister. I ain't gonna have you go out there naked. Right. But I got those princess borrowed power. Whatever. Well, so that's it. That's all. Thank you for sticking with us for this long. Hope you got some laughs. If you're not someone who has read God of High School and you feel that we have thoroughly spoiled enough of it for you, the fuck you listening to this for? It's like, this is your fault. This is all your fault. Daniel said, John, I just can't read it anymore. But I would again like to thank my illustrious guest, Kevin.
Yep.
My other guest, that man, Ed.
That's right. I came in late, but I'm here.
He came in late, kept leaving and coming back. He probably was screaming in his pillow or something. This is lying. Richard Parker's the greatest villain Kira, definitely. This is the greatest.
What are you talking about? Kira was the hero. Come on.
My man. My man. Nero needed to die.
Obviously.
And Matsuda was an idiot. I said, Matsuda, you idiot. I love that part. And then he just shot his ass. And he was like, he got another one. And it was like, it's in the watch. And it was like, it's in the watch. He got another one. And he just, you Matsuda, you idiot.
It's a crackhead.
I was like, I was about to murder everybody.
It's a crackhead for the death. Like, gotta get my fix.
But thank you all for listening. Check out me and Kevin's comic book Carpet.
Yeah.
Look at that if you want to basically compare God of High School to something that we made, and then you can sit there and go, oh my God, no wonder he thought it was suck. This is amazing. And it was like, exactly. And it was like, you see, that's what good writing is compared to that shitty writing.
Oh, wow.
And there's nothing, ain't nothing I'm never going to do about it. But if there's anything else that I'll have to talk about, I'll definitely let you know. This has been Fun with Flame. I'm Daniel the Flame. And as always, good people, I hope you had fun. Also, be sure to check out the original home of the Fun with Flame podcast over at Anchor.fm. I upload there first and far more frequently than I do YouTube. And you should definitely go there to listen to some of my podcasts that are just too hot for YouTube to handle. So check out Anchor.fm for more Fun with Flame content. Be sure to subscribe and click any of the links in the description to see all of the other things that I am associated with, if you just want a little bit more of that Daniel the Flame in your life.